Here.
Maniscalco. Here. Hurtek.
Here.
Vieira. Carlson.
Here.
Clendenin.
Here.
We have a physical quorum.
Thank you very much. I believe we have some housekeeping to do.
Good evening, Stephanie Pope, Development Coordination. We do have a few housekeeping items. All rezoning items are moving forward this evening. There is one correction to make to the agenda, which is item number 8, which is file REZ 2567. Listed on the agenda, a request to rezone from RS 50 to RM 18. It is stated on the record to request to rezone from RS 60 to RS 50, and that is also listed correctly on the agenda under the ordinance below.
So when we read that, it will read correctly.
Yes, sir,
Do you
that is
need
correct.
us to make a motion now to fix that?
No.
Okay.
And then I'll turn it over to Planning Commission as they have an item clear.
Good evening. You've had a really slow few weeks.
Emily Phelan, Planning Commission staff. Item number 1 is TA CPA 2411. The applicant is requesting that this be continued to November 13th, 2025.
Thank you. Can I hear a motion?
Inquire on this, please.
I have something.
Okay, let's hear from the attorney first. Mr. Shelby.
It may be the same.
Yeah, might be. I wanted to hear from the applicant because what I'm asking and what we've heard from public comment that we have received, emails and such, is that I'm asking if the applicant would be willing to renotice.
He was, if there is.
Hi, True Gardner, 400 North Ashley Drive. Absolutely fine to renotice.
Okay.
That whole site is peppered with signs and happy to put more up.
Well, I think that the issue is the signs still have, I think, the July date or one of those other dates. So if we could replace them with the November 13th date, I think that would be what the public is looking for.
Absolutely fine.
Making sure. So we've gotten letters of support for the continuance, but definitely would like to renotice. So
Happy to do that. And then just so you know kind of what's going on, what we've been promising the neighbors all along is that we want to have all of these hearings together just for efficiency. And then there's promises that we're being made that are being built into the PD. And so we want to make sure we're delivering on those promises. So happy to notice again.
Okay.
So we have, I'll take that as a friendly amendment to the motion.
Yes, I would, after speaking to him, I move to continue the TACPA 24-11 to November 13th, 2025
Second.
with a public renotice.
W-
And, I'm sorry, 5:01 PM, I should know this by now, 315
I know.
East Kennedy Boulevard, Tampa, Florida, 33602.
Two.
The court's requirement.
Third floor.
Yes, third floor, sorry. So don't go to
With security on the
second
first floor now.
Don't go to the fourth, but go to the third.
Very good. We have a motion from Councilwoman Hurtek, a second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. And that is it for our housekeeping, correct? Okay, very good. Can
I move to
adopt the
amended
amended agenda?
Amended agenda.
We have a motion from Councilwoman Hurtek, a second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you.
Could we,
Adopt the agenda, yes.
may we recall number 1? Is Mr. Gardner still here, Mr. Gardner?
We have to notice the public.
No, we just have a question with regard to notice. What constitutes notice, and what is the planning commission?
Yes, mail and signs,
Is that
because I do believe that there's also, like
The
you said, a
rezoning,
rezoning
but-
attached, so you would need to also send information. That can't be combined, can it?
What?
No, okay, well then, yes, if it, I would prefer to have the
So
regular
the comp
full
plan,
notice.
in addition, mail notice for the comp plan as
Yes,
well?
and to clarify, we've got comp plan, rezoning,
Yeah.
and
And a
vacating.
yes.
And so we'll do all three.
Thank
So,
you.
Thank you so much.
Mr.
Okay.
Shelby,
Yes.
is this fine, it's just clarification?
This is a
on-
clarification.
Okay, very good, thank you.
There's an understanding, a meeting of the minds.
Okay, very good. Okay, just want to make sure. Okay. Okay, that being done, I'd like to have a motion to open all public hearings, please. We have a motion from Councilman Miranda, a second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, so we have got item number 2.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Samuel.
No, gotta swear
Oh, what is, somewhere I saw that it was, where an first was non-quasi judicial. Okay, if you are here to speak on any item tonight or provide testimony, stand up, raise your right hand, and be sworn in by our fine clerk.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to provide is the truth and nothing but the truth?
So it's hot. Thank you very much. Okay.
All right. Sam Thomas Development Coordination. Agenda item number 2 is REZ 2540, a request to rezone 2907 West Beta Bay Boulevard, 2910 West Barcelona Street, units 401 through 2303, and folio number 127264.8338, from plan development to plan development for office, business, professional, retail, restaurant/bar, residential multifamily high-rise, and school. So we'll start with our aerial map here. You can see the subject site outlined in red on West Beta Bay, South Isabella, and then West Barcelona Street here. To the north of the subject site, you have RM 75 zoning with multifamily development. You have a little pocket of CG here that's been developed with single-family attached uses. When you're looking to the east, you have RM 24, RS 75, and PD. Respectively, you have single-family attached and semi-detached uses here, a civic use here, and then office professional here. When you're going to the south, you have RR1 zoning with office, business, professional uses, and then you have a planned development here for residential multifamily high-rise and single-family attached uses. And then to the west, you have the Solomon Expressway. We'll go to the site plan provided by the applicant. This project may look familiar to some of you all. The current development on site was approved via PD REZ 2272. That rezoning, REZ 2272, approved the site for office, business, professional, retail, restaurant/bar, and residential multifamily high-rise. The request before you today is to add the use of the school to parcel 1, which is located here. So the applicant is proposing to allocate 9,500 square feet of office, business, professional uses to the use of school. Aside from that, the only physical changes proposed to the site is to increase the size of the solid waste located here and the loss of 1 parking spot due to providing additional space for the lift station located here. Other than that, there are no proposed changes to the site plan or the uses other than reallocating that 9,500 square feet to the school use from the office, business, professional use, the loss of 1 parking spot for increased access to the lift station, and increasing the solid waste location. Other than that, the site plan will be staying completely the same. You'll still have vehicular access to parcel 1 from Beta Bay and Isabella. And then you'll also have access to both parcels via this drive out here. That gives you access to the parking garage and the surface parking located in the rear. And then there's access along West Barcelona Street that provides you access to the parking located under the residential multifamily. And then you still have all your pedestrian connections provided along the perimeter and within internal to the site. So I'll quickly show some elevations. While there are elevations, everything on the site is already constructed. So this is looking at elevations of parcel 1. And these are your elevations for parcel 2, which is the residential multifamily. I'll run through some pictures real quick so you can see how the site was developed after the rezoning was approved. So we're looking east at the intersection of Isabella and West Beta Bay towards Bay Shore. Now we're looking west. You have Beta Bay here. This is parcel 1 where the allocation to the school use is proposed. Looking across the street, looking south. Now we're looking north. This is parcel 1 here. Parcel 2 is located here. Moving further north along Isabella, there's that internal drive access that provides access to the parking garage and the parking in the rear of the subject site. Looking south from the subject site at the civic use and the semi-detached and attached uses. Now we're looking north up that drive aisle to the access of the parking garage and the parking in the rear. This is the location of the solid waste that will be expanded and made larger. And then the lift station's back here, where the one parking spot will be lost. We've moved over to South Barcelona, or no, this is looking south from where the parking garage entrance is, between the two parcels. Now we're at Isabella and Barcelona, looking north into the subject site right here. Now we're looking back south toward, or east towards Bay Shore. We have the subject site here. That's where the CG is located with the single-family attached units. This is the entrance to the multifamily, looking south. Now we're looking north on Isabella. You can see the multifamily in the background, and then those townhomes. And then finally, we're looking back south towards parcel 1 where the use will be located at. The school use will be located at. Throw the site plan back up. So just again, this is the parcel with the proposed changes. There will be no proposed changes on this site, and then you only have those few changes I went over to this one. Development review and compliance staff found the request to be consistent. Should it be the pleasure of council to approve the waiver as identified in the report and application, modifications to the site plan as shown on the revision sheet must be completed between first and second reading. I'm available if there's any questions.
Does council have questions?
Okay,
Thank you,
turn it
Mr.
over to
Thomas.
Emily.
Planning Commission?
Emily Phelan, Planning Commission staff. This is in the South Tampa Planning District in the Bayshore Gardens neighborhood. It's in Evacuation Zone A. The subject site is located here in the CMU 35 designation. To the north is the R83 designation. To the east is the R35. To the south is the R50. And to the west is the CC 35 designation. A school use can be considered within the CMU 35 designation. The site's within a mixed-use corridor, and the comprehensive plan has policy direction that applies. The PD has existing sidewalks along the rights-of-way with connections to the buildings. The proposed 2.0 FAR is consistent with the anticipated intensity under the CMU 35 designation and with the surrounding development pattern. Planning Commission staff reviewed the application and found no adverse impacts to the surrounding neighborhood. The rezoning will allow better utilization of the land that is consistent with the intensity anticipated under the CMU 35 designation. The comp plan promotes pedestrian safety and encourages commercial development that enhances the City of Tampa's character and ambiance. The building entrances connect to sidewalks along West Blvd Boulevard and South Isabella Avenue. Overall, the request is comparable and compatible with the character of the surrounding uses and consistent with the comprehensive plan. And that concludes my presentation if you have any
Does
questions.
council have any questions? Thank you. Applicant?
Good evening, Council. Alex Shaler, 400 North Ashley Drive. I don't have too much to add. A little bit more background on the latest rezoning. We were here in 2022. As you may recall, we decreased the office entitlements and increased the restaurant and retail entitlements, and that is the current construction project that's going on now. They're reskinning the building and doing some interior re-tenanting. We're usually pretty good at future-proofing these applications with all of the uses that we need in the first go-around, but we did have a potential future tenant approach the property owner about doing what we think would be a good fit here. It is defined as, quote, school in the code, but think more of Kaplan Learning, Sylvan Learning, kind of like tutoring, private institutional. Some jurisdictions have separate uses for that. Right now, the city does not. Candidly, we thought about creating a use. You can do that independently in the zone, or administratively in the zoning code, but sometimes the clearest and simplest path is one with an already established process. So we are back here to add the use of the school. It is capped at 163 students and 9,500 square feet. Fully consistent findings from all of the different reviewing agencies. We did exchange some correspondence with the leadership of the Bayshore Gardens Neighborhood Association, gave them some context and clarification on the request, and they raised no concerns. So happy to answer any questions you might have, and that concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much. Does council have any questions for the applicant? Hearing none, thank you. Is there anybody in the public that wishes to speak to this item? We have a motion to close?
Second.
We have a motion to close from Councilman Maniscalco, a second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Councilman Carlson.
Move file number REZ 25-40, ordinance being presented for first reading consideration, ordinance rezoning property in the general vicinity of 2907 West Beta Bay Boulevard, 2910 West Barcelona Street, units 401 through 2303, and folio number 127264-8338 in the city of Tampa, Florida, more particularly described in section 1, from zoning district classification PD plan development to PD plan development office, business and professional, retail, restaurant, bar, residential, multifamily, high-rise, and school, providing effective date.
And I believe there's a revision
Including
sheet.
the revision sheet.
Including the revision sheet.
Thank you. We have a motion from Councilman Carlson, a second from Councilman Vieira. Is it loaded up to vote on? Oh, it's first reading, I'm sorry. Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Okay, moving on. Oh, actually, let's pause for, go ahead. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, motion carried unanimously. Second reading and adoption will be held on September 18th, 2025 at 10 a.m. at Old City Hall, located at 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, 3rd floor, Tampa, Florida, 33602.
We're gonna take a point of personal privilege, and we have some special guests in the audience tonight. Molly, can you get your folks to stand up and be recognized? Molly, why don't you introduce yourself and why you're here tonight?
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Council, for having us. I'm Molly Biebel. I'm the coordinator of the Mayor's Youth Corps. And before I pass the mic over to this amazing group of young people, I do want to put a plug in. The class of 2026 Mayor's Youth Corps will have its applications live on our website starting September 3rd. So tampa.gov/MYC, and my contact info is on there as well. And with that, I'm happy to introduce about half of our class of 2025. Thank you.
That'd be great. Come on up. Start with your name.
Good evening. My name is Hugh, and I'm in 11th grade, and I go to Jefferson High School.
Thank you. Welcome.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Samuel Jordan. I am in the 11th grade, and I go to Brooks DeBartolo High School.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you, City Council. My name is Ashrey Saini. I'm in 12th grade, and I go to Warden High School.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Sophie Garankova. I'm a senior at Plant High School.
Go Panthers.
Good evening, Student Council. My name is Chloe Clay, and I'm in 12th grade at Academy of the Holy Names.
Good evening. My name is Blaylan Blaylock. I'm in the 10th grade, and I go to Robinson High School.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Jacob Wan, and I'm in the 11th grade at Middleton High School.
It wasn't that long ago I had hair like that.
Hi, City Council. My name is Pilar Barunda, and I'm in 11th grade at Plant High School.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Nikitha Magada. I'm in 10th grade, and I go to Middleton High School.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Dua Khan, and I'm at Academy of the Holy Names.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Grayson Allen, and I'm a junior at Plant High School.
Good evening, City Council. I'm Caitlin Murphy. I'm a junior at Plant High School.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Alana Muniz, and I'm a 10th grader at Tampa Prep High School.
Good evening. My name is Isha, and I'm a senior at Middleton High School.
Good evening, City Council. I'm Austin Allen, and I'm a senior at Jesuit.
I bet you're on the football team. So.
I
No?
was.
Okay.
Evening, Council. My name is Sydney, and I'm a junior at Plant.
Nice. Well, you guys are like the first council, Mayor's Youth Corps that gets to test out these brand new monitors and these high-resolution video cameras we have up here. It's great. Councilman Hurtek? Councilwoman Hurtek?
Thank you. I just want to say I met some of you all downstairs, and we talked a little bit about land use, and I hope this that you learn a lot tonight, and thank you for being here. We're excited to have you.
Councilman Miranda, did you want to say something?
No, I think I heard there was one dragon there.
Yeah.
Was there a Jefferson Dragon? Who's the Jefferson
She's got to
Dragon?
stand up again. You're from Jefferson.
Yeah.
Where's she at? Congratulations.
I was surprised he didn't yelp out when you said that, but it's great to have you all here. I love seeing the young people in council. Councilman Beer, you want to say something?
Yes, sir. No, just God bless you guys, and good to see everybody here. And it's always a great program. And yeah, and I know last year I did a great, one of my wonderful somber melancholy history tours, and maybe we'll do that again this year. So there you go. But thank you guys.
And Molly does always a great job and always brings a great group of young people to council chambers. Hopefully, we'll see you all sitting on a dais one day. Just don't become a lawyer like Councilman Vieira. Very good. Welcome. Okay, we're going to move on with the agenda. Item number 3.
Good evening. Stephanie Pope with Development Coordination. Agenda item number 3 is REZ 2542, request to rezone 2420 and 2422 Stroud Avenue and 1401 South Lorenzo Avenue from RM24 to planned development for residential single-family attached uses. We'll start with an aerial view of the subject site and the surrounding area. You can see the subject site outlined in red here. And is on the south side of West Stroud Avenue between South Lorenzo Avenue and South Bay Villa Place. The area surrounding the subject site contains mostly single-family detached, semi-detached, and multifamily uses. The area to the north, south, and east surrounding the subject site is comprised of RM24, so you can see that here, with one rezoning of PD, 1 block to the west for multifamily townhomes, and that's here. And this is the Selman Expressway, and it is mostly multifamily residential, and then you move towards Howard and it becomes a little more commercial in that area. Next, we'll move on to the site plan. This is the site plan that has been provided by the applicant. The applicant proposes to construct 1 3-story structure with a total of 6 units. Here you can see the outline of the property in units 1 through 6. The entryway to the units is off of West Stroud, and in these entryways there is also a 2-car garage into each unit. They are oriented towards West Stroud Avenue. They are proposed with 3 stories, and there is a proposed 5-foot sidewalk surrounding the site with access to West Stroud and West Lorenzo here, and then there is a code required 2 visitor spaces, which are over here off of South Lorenzo. Next, we'll move on to the elevations provided by the applicant. This is the north elevation, and then the west elevation here, the south elevation, and the east elevation. And then we'll show some pictures of the site. This is looking north. And this is, you can see the Selman Expressway here. This is behind the site, and this is looking onto Lorenzo there, or onto Stroud there. Then this is east from Stroud and Carolina here. This is the site. Here's a picture of the subject site. Then we're moving further down. This is still the subject site. And then this is looking east on Stroud at the subject site. Then we're still on Stroud here, and we're looking north. The expressway is over here, just to orient you. And then looking east at Lorenzo and Stroud. Then south on Lorenzo, and the subject site is on the right. This is west, and this is also the subject site there. This is south on South Carolina. This is looking north on Lorenzo. This is looking southeast on Lorenzo. And then our final picture is looking southwest on Lorenzo. And this is behind the subject site. Development coordination and compliance staff review the application and find the request to be consistent with the Land Development Code. There are no waivers as part of this request, If City Council approves the application, the modifications to the site plan as shown on the submitted revision sheet must be completed between first and second reading. I'm available for any questions.
Any questions? Hearing
I'll
none.
turn it over to Planning Commission.
Planning Commission.
Emily Phelan, Planning Commission staff. The site's within the South Tampa Planning District in the Bayshore Gardens neighborhood, Evacuation Zone B. The subject site is located here, and it's in the Residential 35 designation, which does allow for medium and low density uses. That designation is to the north, east, and south of the subject site, and the lighter brown is the Residential 20 designation to the west. Planning Commission staff reviewed the average density of this block between West Stroud Avenue and West Texas Avenue, excluding the subject site. The existing density is 18.39 acres. Based on 5 sample sites, which does exclude the vacant parcels as well, which is approximately 51% of the density anticipated under the R35 designation. Planning Commission staff reviewed the request and found it consistent with the density anticipated under the R35 designation and policies that support infill development on vacant and underutilized land. The request would allow for additional housing and a variety of housing types. Overall, the proposed request is comparable and compatible with the character of the surrounding uses and consistent with the density pattern anticipated under the Residential 35 designation. That concludes my presentation if you have any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Applicant?
Good evening, City Council. Steve Michelini representing the petitioner. I have been sworn. I think the staff has done a remarkable job in presenting this case. As they said, we're not requesting any waivers, but let me go through the site plan very quickly. This is a challenging site. It is directly adjacent to the Crosstown Expressway, so it is going to present some development challenges. But anyway, we've presided, as the staff said, no waivers, so we have green space on both the east and the west sides. The garages are 20 feet by 22 feet in depth. I have a detail of that, which I'll show you in a second. There we go. There's, and we'd have the 2 visitor spaces on the end down here. And then there's the detail with the 20 feet and the 22 feet on the garages with the interior storage of garbage. Immediately adjacent to this property on the south side is this apartment complex. It is surrounded by other townhouses and multifamily projects. The subject site is here, and you see the proximity to the Crosstown Expressway there. This shows you directly across the street, apartment building here. I'm not sure if they're condos or apartments, but they're multifamily directly across from the subject site here. As we go through this project, we end up with an additional 8.5 feet between the edge of the property line and the edge of the pavement. The driveways are 18 feet in width, and the front doors all face the right-of-way. So we're not asking for the waivers on the driveways. Both the city staff and the Planning Commission found it consistent. We have no waivers, as I said, and we're surrounded by multifamily. We're proposing 6 units according to the density with the land use where we're allowed 7, and we're proposing 6. This replaces an existing duplex, which is probably from the early 50s, and we'll have a new development in there. This is immediately adjacent to the Crosstown, as I said, and the staff has found it to be consistent. It does meet all of the criteria regarding the infill and development. I'd like to go through the couple of the things that are required for a PD zoning. Promote the efficient and sustainable use of land and structures. The site is zoned for multifamily and has future land use of R35, which expects a higher density, and the applicant is proposing a development which is consistent with that. Encourage the flexibility of development, which reduces transportation needs. We are immediately adjacent to the Crosstown. Obviously, there's no access there, but there are transit connections immediately to the east. The applicant proposes 2,273 square feet of green space. It's more than 2,100 square feet of this required. The applicant is also providing and committing to type 1 shade trees, so we're going to make Aaron happy. Promote to encourage development where appropriate in location and the geography of the immediately area is characterized by single-family attached and detached, and as well as some small incidental commercial uses. So we're not introducing a new use in the area. It already is fairly heavily developed into multifamily. Promote desirable living conditions. We're complying with that. Promote the architectural styles and development. There's an eclectic style that starts back in the 60s and 70s with more blocky style. This will have more architectural relief. We also will be required to increase and improve and extend the utilities for water, sewer in the area, as well as introduce a sidewalk, which does not exist currently. And as the staff pointed out, that's a 5-foot wide sidewalk. I don't have to go through the waiver criteria because we're not asking for any waivers. I would like to have the Planning Commission staff's report and all of the different categories that they have identified as being consistent to be received and filed and made part of this record. I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have. No one contacted us regarding any concerns on this redevelopment, and we respectfully request your approval.
Any questions? Nope. Is there anybody in the public that wishes to speak to this item? We have a motion to close from Councilman Vera, a second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Councilman Vera.
I move an ordinance presented for first reading consideration, an ordinance rezoning property in general vicinity of 2420 and 2422 West Stroud Avenue and 1401 South Lorenzo Avenue, City of Tampa, Florida, more particularly described in Section 1 from Zoning District Classification RM24, residential multifamily to PD Plan Development, residential single-family attached, providing an effective date, and that's for RAZ 2542.
We have a motion from Councilman Vera, a second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor? Was there a revision sheet? Including a revision sheet? So including a revision sheet. Motion from Councilman Vera, a second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, unanimous.
Okay, motion carried unanimously. Second reading and adoption will be held on September 18th, 2025 at 10 a.m. at Old City Hall, located at 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, 3rd floor, Tampa, Florida, 33602.
Thank you.
Do you want to read that again? Yeah.
It's hard to hear her.
Okay, motion carried unanimously. Second reading and adoption will be held on September 18th, 2025 at 10 a.m. at Old City Hall, located at 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, 3rd floor, Tampa, Florida, 33602.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, we appreciate everybody's brevity on this stuff too. We'll move on and get out of here by 9 o'clock tonight. Item number 4, Mr. Thomas.
Alrighty. Sam Thomas Development Coordination. Agenda item number 4 is RAZ 2549, a request to rezone 2425, 2525, 2601, and 2601 North Rocky Point Drive from residential multifamily 24 and planned development to planned development for storefront residential, commercial/office, all CG uses, and restaurant. Before I get started, I do have a revised revision sheet to submit for the record.
So Mr. Shelby, somebody let Mr. Shelby out of his cage. Thank you.
All right, we'll start with our aerial view of the subject site outlined in red on North Rocky Point Drive. The subject site does consist of 3 parcels. You have parcel 1 where the development is proposed, parcel 3, which is a small parcel right here, which consists of North Rocky Point, the end of North Rocky Point Drive, and then parcel 3 is right here, which is mainly a wetland parcel. To the north of the wetland parcel, you have a planned development that's for office, business, professional. Then north of this part of the subject site, you have a PD that is for hotel. When you're going to the west, you have another planned development, which is for office business professional. And then to the west of this parcel, you have RM24 with, which is developed with residential multifamily. And then south and east of it, you have Old Tampa Bay. So we'll move on to this right here. I wanted to throw this up because this was provided by the applicant and it kind of gives you a better idea of those different 3 parcels. You have parcel 3 here where the development is proposed, the smaller roadway parcel, and then the wetland parcel. So to give you a better idea of where the development's going. So here is a site plan provided by the applicant. The applicant is proposing a 360,468 square foot storefront residential structure that consists of 252 multifamily units and 9,373 square feet of commercial or restaurant uses. The main entrance to the multifamily is going to be located here, and then there's a sidewalk that runs from North Rocky Point Drive to the multifamily entrance there. The applicant is proposing a 1,032 square foot restaurant office, which would be located right here on the ground floor, and then a 252 square foot restaurant lobby and elevator, which is where patrons would come in and then go to the restaurant use, which is located on upper floors. And then that 1,000-ish square foot restaurant office is supposed to be functioning as like a catering office for the restaurant that's located on the upper floors. The entrance for those uses are accessed via a sidewalk right here on North Rocky Point Drive. Let's see here. Vehicular access to the site is provided here from that roadway parcel. This will take you up to the parking garage, and it also takes you to a drop-off pickup spot for the restaurant. That'll be located on the upper floors. 318 parking spaces are required, and 386 parking spaces are provided, and the maximum building height is proposed to be 230 feet. So we'll go to the elevations provided by the applicant now. Alrighty. This is the north elevation. This is the east elevation. This is the south elevation. And this is where the proposed restaurant is going to be located. And then finally, we have the west elevation. I'll run through some pictures of the site real quick. So here is the roadway parcel right here, and then you have the parcel where the development is going to occur to the left. Now we're looking south, the roadway parcel, and then the parcel that's going to be developed. This is the hotel there. Looking internal to the subject site. Now we're looking back to the west where the roadway parcel is. Looking southeast internal to the subject site towards Old Tampa Bay. Now we're looking west at that planned development for office business professional uses. Looking southeast, moving internal to the site, there's the PD with the hotel. And this is the subject site. Better view of the neighboring parcel. Now we're looking north. This is the subject site here. And then a better view looking northeast from the front of the parcel that's fronting the water. Looking back south towards the drive aisle, towards North Rocky Point Drive. And now we're moving towards the wetland parcel. So you have the hotel, and then past the hotel is where you get to the wetland parcel. So here's the wetland parcel, and there's the RM24 multifamily across the street from it. Better view of that wetland parcel. And then looking back down towards where the subject site will be developed. I do want to mention, as part of this rezoning, if it is approved, the wetland parcel would not be able to be developed in the future. Alrighty, let me put the site plan back up. And additionally, the applicant is proposing to enter into a bonus agreement with the city for this development. Development Coordination and Compliance staff reviewed the application and find the request to be consistent. The applicant exceeds the required green space that needs to be provided and the proposed uses are appropriate in location. Should it be the pleasure of council to approve the waivers as identified in the report and the application, modifications as shown on the revised revision sheet must be completed between first and second reading. I'm available if there's any questions.
Any questions?
I'll turn it over to Emily.
Planning.
Emily Phelan, Planning Commission staff. The site is within the West Shore Planning District, the Coastal High Hazard Area, and Evacuation Zone A. The subject site is within 3 future land use designations. This parcel here, including part of the roadway parcel, is a community mixed use 35. The western portion here is the urban mixed use 60 designation, and the remaining of this parcel in the green is the environmentally sensitive areas designation. Under these designations, residential development may utilize either FAR or density. Per the comprehensive plan, if a site within the West Shore Planning District has more than 50% of wetlands, the site is eligible for the environmental sensitive areas density credit, and the FAR may be blended onto the site. The development is located on this parcel, so they are blending all their entitlements to this parcel. The proposed FAR of 0.96 is the combined total allowed under the CMU 35 and the UMU 60 designations and the ESA credit. The proposed 20-story building would be the highest on the south side of Courtney Campbell Causeway. There is a 16-story building located on the north side approximately here. The portions of the parcel designated as CMU 35 and UMU 60 are within a mixed-use center and corridor. The proposed PD has building entrances facing Rocky Point Drive with a sidewalk connection from the front entrance to the sidewalk along Rocky Point Drive, meeting the intent of the comprehensive plan. The applicant has agreed to make changes to the site plan regarding correcting the future land use designation, the FAR, and the proposed square footage between first and second readings. As city staff has mentioned, that is on the revision sheet. The request would provide housing on underutilized land to ensure an adequate supply is available to meet the needs of current or future populations. And overall, the proposed request is consistent with the development pattern envisioned under the CMU 35 and UMU 60 designations, compatible with the surrounding land uses, and it aligns with the city's policies, the comprehensive plan's policies for housing. And that concludes my presentation if you have any questions.
Thank you. Council have any questions? Thank you. An applicant? If you're here for the public, we'll have an opportunity here after the presentation.
Good evening, Trent Gardner, 400 North Ashley Drive. Excited to be here tonight. Wanted to introduce our team as Addie's pulling this up. With American Land Ventures, we've got Rachel Cardello, David Fellows, and Adam Daskell. With RSP Architects, Andrew Burnett. With Kimley Horn, Artie Cintron. Transportation, Randy Cohen. Ricky Federico's here from Dark Moss. And then Costas Lifsey Development, Becky Dunphy, and Stan Lifsey. And I wanted to just take a second before we begin and introduce Stan. Stan's a lifelong friend of mine, and his family has a neat history in Rocky Point, and I thought it would just be interesting to hear from Stan for a second. And
sure. Good evening, Council.
State your name first.
Sorry. My name is Stan Lifsey. I'm the grandson of Julian Lifsey, and my grandfather, Julian, first started assembling property on Rocky Point back in the 60s and started developing properties out there in the 1970s. And when he first started his venture out there, there was shell roads leading out to Barkey Theater that was on the south end, and the north side, a majority of it was submerged until he ended up dredging it up. We have a long history with the real estate out at Rocky Point. We're very selective in who we partner with, because my grandfather had a vision that Rocky Point become a very vibrant community with restaurants, hotels, residential units, office buildings. And when we look to partner with the developer as a co-developer, we do exhaustive, homework. And we felt we executed very well on the current hotel. Felt that it was a very high-end Class A asset delivered to Rocky Point, and partnering with American Land Ventures. Feel like we'll be able to deliver another Class A asset to Rocky Point and add to the vision that my grandfather had, back in the 60s and 70s. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Stan. Stan's made our jobs a lot easier. He's been such a good steward. He went around and canvassed all of the neighbors, and I think this is already a part of the record, but I'd like to introduce copies of letters of support from 6 different surrounding property owners, actually 5 different, and then West Shore Alliance as well.
Mr. Truitt, just to make sure we're good, because I saw some people come in, I don't know if they're part of your presentation, but is anybody here that has not been sworn in that plans to speak during this part of the presentation? Ricky, were you one of them? Or anybody that's planning on speaking for the rest of the night? If you haven't been sworn in, please stand, raise your right hand and be sworn in. Okay, we'll grab another one.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to provide is the truth and nothing but the truth?
Go ahead.
Perfect, and we're not aware of any opposition, so we'll be brief, but wanted to be thorough because it is a complex site and with a lot of moving parts, and so we'll be as expedient as possible, but happy to answer any questions as well. What's in front of you is a kind of a aperture pulled out aerial of the area, and I think what's interesting here is just what's around it and why this really lends itself well for a mixed-use development, primarily multifamily. 1, you're 5 minutes from TIA. 2, you're on the or proximate to the hurricane evacuation route, and then 3, it's literally that site where once you pull out to the causeway, you have numerous options of where to go on high-speed limited access highways. You can obviously go west to the beaches. If you go east, you can go north, south. Takes you in all different directions. So it's really a great site for this development. Little closer location, you can see the mix of uses here. And I think one of the reasons, aside from Stan's charming personality, of why the surrounding property owners have gravitated towards this is it'll really be the first mixed-use development with limited office, retail, large restaurant. So it'll be replacing the age-old Rusty Pelican, and but that's the site there. And then Sam touched on this, and I just wanted to, again, lastly, the parcel that's highlighted in green is what we've been referring to as the wetlands parcel. And as Sam mentioned, it'll remain in its current state. The PD provides that. It does have uplands to it, and so those will be preserved and development won't be able to occur there. But we think it's important to do this as a matter of resiliency. Artie's going to touch on this some more, but just provides a place for wave attenuation, and we think it's just good sound planning. And with that, I'll turn it over to Addie to run through a few more slides, and then Artie's going to speak, and Randy as well, but happy to answer any questions as we go.
Thank you.
Good evening, Addie Clark, 400 North Ashley Drive. So going into what we're proposing here, so this is truly a mixed-use development, a mixed-use resilient project here in the West Shore District. So Sam mentioned this, we're proposing 252 residential units, all of which are located at least 26 feet above the ground. And we are proposing commercial use on the ground floor, which will lead up to that restaurant on that 9-story parking garage. And then parking is provided in the garage for both residents and restaurant patrons. And we're proud to provide about 3 times the amount of required bicycle spaces, and those are within the building itself. And then regarding building height, applications are in process with both FAA and HCAA. Looking at both the current 2040 comprehensive plan and the draft 2045 comprehensive plan that's currently in review, the themes of those respectively were people, places, natural spaces, and live, grow, thrive. This project, we think, weaves those themes together perfectly, as its entire goal is providing people with a beautiful and resilient place to live while preserving natural spaces. And this is all about promoting living, growing, and thriving in a true mixed-use district. We are happy to find findings of consistency from every department except for transportation due to 2 waivers regarding loading, which we'll go into a little bit more detail. But did want to note we do have one grand tree waiver. However, natural resources staff found that consistent due to our reasonable reconfigurations that were submitted, as well as exceeding or meeting all natural resources requirements. And then in terms of loading, the 2 spaces that are provided are actually larger than the 2 spaces that code would require. And the developer has extensive experience in constructing and operating multifamily projects throughout the entire state. And so they are confident, and frankly, it's in their best interest to make sure that those 2 spaces are more than sufficient for both the multifamily and the restaurant operations. And a way that this is ensured is that residents have to reserve loading spaces before they move in, or they have something scheduled for delivery or something like that. And then here's an example of a very typical restaurant food delivery truck that we see that could serve this project and could fit entirely within the 2 loading spaces that are provided. And then the auto turn exhibit on the right shows how all maneuvering of any large truck would be done entirely within the site and have no disruption to the public right-of-way. And then finally, for the resilient buildings, as we know, those are what can be financed and what can be insured. And there are countless examples of how new resilient buildings in the city provide necessary housing while are also safe, dependable structures in a storm. So some examples of projects in the CHHA that did well last year are Novell Beach Park, AER downtown right on the river, Seasons on Rocky Point, which is very close to this project, as well as Emerson, just on the other side of Courtney Campbell Causeway. And now I'll introduce Artie Cintron with Kimley Horn to go into detail about how this project is another example of building a beautiful place to live in a smart and resilient way.
Good evening, council members. Artie Cintron, Kimley Horn, 201 North Franklin. As Addie had touched on, and Trude as well, I'm just going to add a couple points to what you're going to see on the screen currently. This site will be required to retain and manage stormwater in compliance with City of Tampa requirements, resulting in discharge levels significantly below pre-development conditions. Additionally, the building will be designed in full compliance with the Florida Building Code and ASCE 24 coastal requirements. With all habitable and mechanical areas elevated above the base flood elevation, the foundation system will be engineered to resist coastal wave forces, uplift, scour, providing structural stability under severe conditions. The project provides additional freeboard above the required minimum elevations for the residential units. I want to point that out because that's important. This added elevation improves resilience against wave run-up, sea level rise, and future conditions that exceed current mapped flood elevations. Parking areas are designed with resilience in mind. With both at-grade and elevated parking available, every residential unit will have at least 1 vehicle space located above the base flood elevation, reducing the likelihood of personal property damage or loss of mobility following a flood event. And one thing I wanted to kind of add in the spirit of resilience, development minimizes adverse floodplain impacts by consolidating its footprint and preserving the wetlands to the north in place. This approach maintains natural flood storage and wave attenuation capacity, reduces displacement of floodwaters, and supports overall coastal resilience. I'm here if you have any questions.
Council have questions?
Good evening, Randy Cohen, 4121 West Cypress Street. I have been sworn. I've done the transportation analysis work for this rezoning. I was also asked to look at hurricane, both evacuation and shelter space. Putting away shelter space to begin with, Hillsborough County's done a great job. Have currently over 75,000 hurricane shelter spaces available. The demand currently is about 57,000 spaces, leaving a capacity of over 18,000 spaces. This project generates the demand for less than 100, substantially less than 100 public shelter spaces. So shelter is not an issue. When it comes to the hurricane evacuation, we all know what that's like in Tampa. The issue is how much does this contribute to a roadway? Is that a significant amount? In this particular case, the amount is very insignificant. It's de minimis based upon the studies we did. Why is that? This particular project in a different location will have an entirely different impact on hurricane evacuation. Reason is Courtney Campbell Causeway is a primary hurricane evacuation route. It is a 6-lane limited access freeway. It has a capacity on an hourly basis of over 6,000 cars. About a mile to the east, you make a choice. You go up the Veterans Expressway, which is an 8-lane expressway with a 1-hour capacity of almost 8,500 cars an hour. If you proceed to the east, you go through the Memorial Interchange to I-75 again. 8-lane, high-capacity freeway with over 8,500 cars as a capacity on a 1-hour basis. So it's not that you're going to get there fast, but from this particular site, once you get onto the causeway, you do not encounter another traffic signal until you decide to get off of the expressway or off the interstate system, which are the major primary hurricane evacuation routes in Tampa. Glad to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you.
Sure, Gardner 400 North Ashley Drive, that's all we have. Again, happy to answer any questions, and also honored to have the findings of consistency from staff, and would appreciate your support in this. Thank you.
Councilwoman Hurtak.
Just what about generator? Do you have any plans
Yes,
for?
somebody can answer this far better than me, but my understanding is all of those utilities will actually be above first floor, and I know there was an actual paper.
Where's the microphone?
It's embedded.
My name's Rachel Cardella. I'm with American Land Ventures, 2175 Tiger Tail Avenue, Miami, Florida. Our buildings have emergency generators. The generators are located above flood, always as per the Florida Building Code. All of the life safety systems are required to be on a generator, so elevators for a certain number of hours, emergency lighting are required to be on there, or any life safety elements are required to be on generators.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? Very good. Okay, and that's it, Mr. Truitt? Okay, is there anybody in the public that wishes to speak to this item? If you wish to speak to this item, you can come up. If there's more than one, you can line up on the wall. If there's only one, welcome. Start with your name, please.
Good evening, council members. Justin O'Brien, 2502 North Rocky Point Drive. So I actually work in the office building across the street from this proposed development. I think I could say for myself and most of those in our offices that this is a smart project. It's a thoughtful approach to revitalizing an area in a new and expanded use. I think this team can execute on that vision that you see, and I think the existing hotel that's there is a great example of that. Phenomenal, and we're all excited about additional restaurant choices at the end of Rocky Point. So appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you like to speak to this item? You can come on forward. So come to the podium and start with your name, and then you have 3 minutes.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Al Saleh. I am also, I work in the Rocky Point area. I would love this opportunity. I would love to see the new projects coming in. It's great to the area. The only concern is, and I see that on a daily basis, the safety where it comes to the sidewalks between the causeway, the traffic light causeway, all the way to the south to this project. We don't have any sidewalks over there. We have a lot of complaints. I work at the hotel for not having even one single sidewalk from either side. Would love to see this sometimes probably combined with this project or in the future. It's a safety concern. My colleagues from other hotels, they have some concerns. I just want to bring this up. I'm not against this project. I support this project, but would love to see more sidewalks over there.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else in the public that wishes to speak to this item? Applicant, would you like a rebuttal?
Just one thing on the sidewalk issue. We do have a bonus payment of $2.9 million on this, and we actually had a plan to do a sidewalk all the way from this site to Courtney Campbell, linking in with those new bike paths that have been installed. And we're told that that's not a project that's qualifiable. We would love to further pursue that, and should this be successful, perhaps we can reach out and then amend that bonus agreement to include it. When in speaking with West Shore Alliance, there was actually a pedestrian fatality in this area, and it was something that they really wanted to see and something we'd really like to provide. So we are 100% open to that and would love to further pursue it.
Does any staff have any clarification on that?
Same time as development coordination, Truitt hit the nail on the head. That was something that they looked into pursuing. My understanding was that putting a sidewalk on, the eastern side of North Rocky Point Drive would have required a variance to the wetland buffer, which is why legal was not supportive of using that as a method for the bonus.
Was legal, were you all involved in that discussion?
Susan Johnson, Velez Legal Department. We do negotiate the bonus provision agreements with the developers. I wasn't personally involved in the negotiation of this one. However, the bonus payments are typically tied to an existing CIP project. So there is one identified already in the bonus provision agreement. I believe it's on Lois Avenue in that area. So we pre-identify them prior to the agreements being finalized.
Councilwoman Hurtak.
My question though, I mean, they presented the wetlands on that side having uplands that are connected to the street. So to me, the wetlands don't seem to be the issue because the area by the street is an upland.
So again, I'm not familiar with the details. We can certainly
can we look at that between
investigate
first
that
and second reading?
Sure,
Yeah.
because you will take up the bonus provision agreement after second reading if it passes.
Great, because
first.
I mean, that would be, I mean, they're asking for it, they're willing to do it. I think we could create a project to do that, especially with that kind of money. We should be able to actually complete the project.
Okay, we'll certainly have more information at second reading for that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
More information is better. Very good. Applicant, would you like to add anything else?
I was going to say, I didn't intend to throw legal under the bus or anybody under the bus on this, but it's something we would like to pursue. We just felt that it was right. But I think maybe with this direction, it's something we can even better pursue. So we'd love to work with them and see if we can come back to you with second reading with this as a proposed solution.
So if this passes tonight, we'll have further clarification between first and second reading. Very good. Okay, thank you. Okay, is there a motion to close?
So move.
We have a motion from Councilman Miranda, second from Councilman Veer. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, we are at Councilwoman Hurtak.
Okay, file number REZ 25-49, ordinance being presented for first reading consideration, an ordinance rezoning property in the general vicinity of 2425, 2525, and 2601 North Rocky Point Drive in the city of Tampa, Florida, and more particularly described in section 1 from zoning district classifications RM24, residential multifamily, and PD, planned development, to PD, planned development, storefront residential, commercial office, all CG uses, and restaurant, providing an effective date, including the revised revision sheet, and including a conversation with legal to talk about moving the bonus provision to building a sidewalk that would connect to the Courtney Campbell and the bike paths. All you had to say was bike paths.
You got her at bike paths. We have a motion from Councilwoman Hurtak, a second from Councilman Veer. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Motion carried unanimously. Second reading and adoption will be held on September 18th, 2025 at 10 a.m. at Old City Hall, located at 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, 3rd floor, Tampa, Florida, 33602.
Thank you. That was a good presentation, by the way. Very nice. Thank you. Okay, moving right along. We'll give them a second to filter out. And they brought an army. They were ready for us. They were ready to take anything we threw at them.
Thank you.
Nice job, Mr. Tripp. Okay. Here we go.
Stephanie Pope, Development Coordination. Agenda item number 5 is REZ 2553, request to rezone 4307 West Fig Street from residential multifamily 18 to planned development for residential single-family attached uses. We'll start with an aerial view of the subject site and the surrounding area. You can see the subject site is outlined here in red. On the north side of West Fig Street between North Hubert and North Manhattan. And here's Fig, here is Hubert, and here is Manhattan. The subject site was approved for residential multifamily 18 zoning in 2023. The subject site is surrounded by RS 50 zoning to the west, east, and south. It's kind of hard to tell, but it's very, very small area of RS 50 right there. There are multiple planned developments in the immediate area. One planned development to the north approved in 2006 for townhome use, which is file number Z06-78, and that is here. One planned development to the northeast and east, which encompasses this area here, which was approved in 2010 for multifamily uses. One planned development to the west, approved in 2024 for residential single-family attached uses. One PD further west, and that's going to be down here at the intersection of Gray Street and North Manhattan, approved in 2022 for residential single-family attached. And another PD just a little bit south of there at the intersection of Manhattan and West Fig, approved in 2003 for residential single-family attached uses. Now we'll put up the site plan. Here's the site plan provided by the applicant. The applicant is proposing to construct a 3-story structure containing 4 units. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. And each unit contains an enclosed 2-car garage with cart storage. And the garages are here. Access to the site is proposed via the alley located on the east side. This is the 16-foot platted alley there. And each unit has a walkway that leads from the unit around here and has access to West Fig Street. Units 2 through 4, which are here, propose entry from the 16-foot platted alley, and Unit 1 has an entry from that sidewalk here, which is facing West Fig Street. Vehicular ingress and egress are from West Fig into the proposed 16-foot alley, so that is here. The future land use is R20, which allows for 18 units per acre by right and 20 units with bonus provisions. A maximum of 4 units are allowed on this site, and 4 units are being proposed. Here are the elevations provided by the applicant. This is the south elevation, and that has that one side there by Fig. Here's the east elevation. This is the west elevation. And on this side is the, let me move it down here, the north elevation. Next, I'll provide some pictures. This is looking at the subject site. This is looking west from the subject site. Looking east down Fig towards Hubert with the subject site on your left. This is looking south across the site. This is looking southwest. And finally, we have a photo here looking northeast at one of those recent developments, one of the planned developments that was there. Development coordination and compliance staff review the application and find the request to be consistent with the land development code. There is one waiver as part of this request. If City Council approves the application, the modifications to the site plan as shown on the submitted revision sheet must be completed between first and second reading. I'm available for any questions.
Any questions? Thank you.
I'll turn it over to Planning Commission.
Emily Phelan, Planning Commission staff. This site is within the West Shore Planning District, the West Shore Palms neighborhood, and Evacuation Zone B. The subject site is located here, represented with the residential 20 designation, which is to the northwest and east of the subject site, and the dark brown is the residential 35. The proposed 4 units would be developed at 16.6 dwelling units per acre, which is consistent under the residential 20 designation. This area is undergoing a transition. 27 rezoning cases have been filed since 2015 in the West Shore Palms neighborhood. The comprehensive plan encourages single-family attached developments to be designed to include orientation of the front door to a neighborhood sidewalk or street. The proposed PED proposes a front door facing West Fig Street with a sidewalk connection for Unit 1. Units 2 through 4 have a front door facing a sidewalk that connects to West Fig, meeting the intent of the comprehensive plan, even though the connection has a potential for vehicular and pedestrian conflicts with cars backing out of the garages into the drive aisle. The request supports many policies related to housing the city's population within the comprehensive plan and ensures an adequate supply of housing is available to meet the needs of Tampa's present and future populations. Overall, the proposed PD is consistent with the policy direction of the comprehensive plan and the long-range development pattern anticipated under the residential 20 future land use designation. And that concludes my presentation if you have any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Applicant?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, council members. Todd Pressman, 200 2nd Avenue South, number 451, St. Petersburg. I do have a very short PowerPoint for you, if we could pull that up, please. And I'm here with James Lascara. James is the property owner, and he will be the builder, with your approval. They have done quite a number of projects in the city of Tampa, smaller to moderate size, all with really great results. So this is RZ 25-53 on West Fig Street. RM 18 to PD for residential single-family attached. Planning Commission, Development Review, compliance staff all finding consistent. All the agencies and reviews are consistent as well, so we're very proud to have all of those. You've seen the location for the site, which is east of West Shore, south of I-275. Here it is per the property appraiser, just west of North Hubert Avenue. And as staff has indicated, there's been quite a number of rezonings in the immediate area with really quite a bit of existing multifamily and a lot more coming. So it's very compliant, it's very in conformance with what's going on in the area. This is looking down Fig Street. You can see the site is noted there on the left. Zoning staff knows it will allow for development as consistent. It's a better utilization of the land. It will not alter the character of the surrounding area, provides additional housing, and it will have proximity to transit and employment options and consistent with the policy direction of the comp plan. I think it important to note when you look at the platted alley that it actually is blocked to the north, as you can see on the diagram here. So there won't be traffic coming through back and forth in the alley basis and per the site plan. What I can also show you, and this is just to add a little color, if we could go to the overhead, this is just the conceptual, which gives you a little bit of idea. If we could pull the overhead up, please. Just to give you a little color on it, again, conceptual, you can see how there's a lot of wide open space in the front. And we believe that is another conducive element for the immediate vicinity. So with that, I'll have James come up and make some comments. And we're happy to answer any questions, of course. Thank you.
Hello.
Thanks. Good evening, council. My name is James Lascara. I've been sworn in. I'm the owner of the property at 4307 Fig. A quick background about me: I served 15 years in the Navy, with my entire time being in the SEAL teams. Upon separating from service, I received a 100% disability rating. So this business has been a great option for my transition out of service because I've come to know the Tampa area pretty well, and I carry forward a spirit of service in all that I do. Since starting the business in 2021, we have completed 16 projects with a focus on quality and community value, and our sweet spot is kind of the 1 to 4 unit space. I'm excited to hear that staff report was consistent across the board. Community support has also been strong with 15 letters of support and 0 opposition. I also have with me here 2 letters from neighbors who are in support of this project, including one who owns a property directly adjacent to the 4307 Fig site and another on the same block. On the agenda, one letter was already added to the record, and I have a printed copy of the other, and I ask that it be added to the record. This proposed rezoning is important for our community's growth and well-being. It answers the increasing demand for housing options near our urban core. As our population grows and more people call Tampa home, having a mix of housing types from single-family homes to multifamily units ensures that we can accommodate various residents' needs, including families, young professionals, and seniors. In conclusion, I respectfully request council approve REZ 2553. This project represents responsible growth and community alignment for new available units in this neighborhood. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you for your service. Thank you.
Thanks.
Happy to answer questions council may have.
Thank you. Councilwoman Hurtak.
I don't have a question, but it's just a comment. I love the creative use of using alleys. I know not everybody agrees with me, but I think alleys, alley access is not a problem. So appreciate that.
I agree. Anything else? I saw multiple people come in after the last time we swore people in. If you're here tonight to speak onto an item and we need to swear you in, if you'd stand, raise your right hand to be sworn in if you're here and have not been sworn in.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to provide is the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Okay, is there anybody from the public that wishes to speak to this item?
Close.
We have a motion to close from Councilman Miranda. Would you like to speak on this item?
Speak on behalf of this.
Come on. Just come up to the podium, state your name, and you have 3 minutes.
Good afternoon, Council. I've already been sworn in. My name is Kevin Maxwell. I live on the same block, 4307 Fig. I know this area very well. Because of this, rezoning makes sense. The neighborhood already includes several multifamily residences. And creating additional homes fits the character of the block. It will provide places for families to live and housing modern, well-planned homes to strengthen the neighborhood. For these reasons, I respectfully ask you to approve Res 2553.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can I have a motion to close again? Would you like to rebut the positive review? A motion to close from Councilman Miranda, second from Councilwoman Hurtak. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Councilman Maniscalco.
Is there a revision sheet with this? Yes. All right. So I have an ordinance being presented for first reading consideration, an ordinance rezoning property in the general vicinity of 4307 West Fig Street in the city of Tampa, Florida, more particularly described in section 1 from zoning district classification RM18, residential family, multifamily to PD plan development, residential single family attached, providing effective date and including the revision sheet.
Second. Thank you. We have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco, a second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Motion carried unanimously. Second reading and adoption will be held on September 18th, 2025 at 10 a.m. at Old City Hall, located at 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, 3rd floor, Tampa, Florida, 33602.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Sam Thomas, Development Coordination.
Okay, Mr. Thomas, item number 6.
All right, Sam Thomas, Development Coordination. Agenda item number 6 is REZ 2563, a request to rezone 3804 West San Pedro Street from Residential Office 1 to Plan Development for Office Business Professional. Before I get started, I do have a revised revision sheet for this.
Thank you. A revised revision sheet. A revision to the revision sheet.
Alrighty. We'll get started with an aerial overview as always. You can see the subject site outlined in red here on West San Pedro and South Del Mabry Highway. North of the subject site, you have RO zoning, which is developed with office business professional uses. And then, as you can see, along South Del Mabry Highway, you have a litany of planned development zonings. Across the corner is another planned development for office business professional. The same thing is to the southeast. And then south of the subject site is another planned development that is for storefront residential, which includes office business professional uses and specialty retail. As you move off the South Del Mabry corridor in both directions, you have residential single-family detached homes. On this side, you have RS60, and then on the east side, you have RS50 zoning. We'll move into the site plan provided by the applicant. The applicant is proposing a 6,252 square foot office business professional structure. The main entrance is proposed here on South Del Mabry Highway. This leads to an elevator lobby on the first floor, and then that'll take you up to the second floor where the office uses are proposed. The remaining of the first floor is going to be parking, and then storage for the solid waste containers, and then another stairwell up in the north corner. Vehicular access to the site is proposed from West San Pedro, and then you have sidewalks provided on all sides of the property. There are 23 parking spaces required and 23 parking spaces are provided, and the maximum proposed building height is 35 feet. You also have bicycle parking located underneath the building, located there. The development proposes to meet the buffer requirements on the west side, which is located here, by providing a 15-foot buffer and a 6-foot concrete wall. And then additionally, the applicant is planting 5 type 1 shade trees to help enhance that buffer there. I'll show you some elevations now. Here's your north elevation. This would be your east elevation. This is the west elevation. And then the south elevation. And then here's some different perspective elevations to kind of show the way the structure will be designed. We'll move into some pictures now. So this is looking south directly at the subject site now. This is currently a single-family detached home. We've moved a little bit further east. So that's the house you just saw. Here's the rest of the subject site. This is South Del Mabry Highway. You can see in the distance there, the office business professional across the street being developed. This is looking south on Del Mabry Highway. Subject site is here. This is where you have that storefront residential where it's office business professional and specialty retail. This is a better view looking east at the planned development where office business professional is under construction. And then this is looking on the opposite side of San Pedro, north of where it's currently being constructed, where an office business professional use exists. Now we're looking directly north of the subject site where you have the RR1 zoning that is developed with an office business professional use as well. Then this is to the west. This is directly next to that office building that I just showed you. So the single family detached homes. And this is the single family detached home that would be directly next to the proposed office building on San Pedro. We'll go back to the site plan now. Development Coordination and Compliance staff reviewed the application and find the request to be consistent. Given 3 out of the 4 corners on West San Pedro and South Del Mabry Highway are developed with office uses, the proposed development is compatible and with the existing development pattern. Should it be the pleasure of council to approve the application and the waivers associated in the report, modifications to the site plan as shown on the revised revision sheet must be completed between first and second reading. I'm available if there's any questions.
Does council have questions? Thank you. Planning Commission.
Emily Phelan, Planning Commission staff. The site's located in the South Tampa Planning District, the Virginia Park neighborhood, and Evacuation Zone B. Again, the subject site is here. It is represented with the Residential 20 designation, which is to the north, east, and south of the subject site. To the west is Residential 10, and it transitions further along South Del Mabry into the Community Mixed Use 35 designation. Due to the site already being zoned RO1, the site is not subject to locational criteria outlined in the comprehensive plan. The proposed 0.5 FAR is consistent with the maximum FAR allowed under the Residential 20 designation. A single-family detached residence is to the west of the site. The applicant is providing a 15-foot buffer with trees. A 7-foot buffer and a 6-foot wall is proposed to the south, reducing the potential impacts to the existing family residences. Planning Commission staff has determined that the site is adequately buffered from the residential uses and it meets the intent of the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan also promotes pedestrian safety and encourages commercial development that enhances the city's characters and ambiance. South Del Mabry Highway is identified as an arterial roadway and a transit emphasis corridor, making it appropriate for redevelopment. The proposed building is close to and faces South Del Mabry Highway with a sidewalk connection from the front entrance to the right-of-way. Additionally, the applicant is providing trees to screen the parking area from the right-of-way, meeting the intent of the comprehensive plan. Overall, the proposed PD is comparable and compatible with the surrounding development area and is consistent with the development pattern anticipated under the Residential 20 designation. And that concludes my presentation. If you have any questions.
Any questions? Thank you. Applicant.
Good evening, council members. Clay Matthews from Smoker Matthews, 100 South Ashley, Suite 850, Tampa, Florida 33602. I'm joined here today by our clients, Fernando and John Castillo, who are the owners of FMC Construction LLC, which owns the subject property. Also joined by our clients, engineer Zamel Sheikh with Global Engineering Associates. I'll be very brief as staff summarized everything very, very well. I don't have much to add other than just some general background about the project. Our clients, the Castillos, are the owners and operators of Baywalk Custom Homes. And that is a family-owned business focusing on custom single-family residences. They started the business as father and son back in 2017. They are now seeking to rezone the property to build, or to rezone it to planned development to build an office building for Baywalk Custom Homes and other office tenants. And we think this location, as staff touched on, is perfect for a home builder's office, given that it's basically surrounded by home builders' offices. Across the street to the north on San Pedro is Terrelon Homes. Caddy corner across Dale Mabry is TV Homes. And then across Dale Mabry to the immediate east, Milana Homes, however it's pronounced, is developing a PD office development as well. I think it was for their office, but now they may just be doing a general office space. I'm not quite sure. But in any event, there's offices at every corner of the intersection. And then actually one block north is Han Engineering, and they have a very similar design with parking on the bottom floor and then the office use on the second floor, which is what our client is proposing now. As such, we think it's just a perfect location for the use. And so with that, we're thankful to have staff's findings of consistency across the board, and respectfully request your approval. With that, I'll sit down and we're happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? Okay, thank you very much. Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to speak to this item?
Move to close.
We have a motion to close from Councilman Miranda, a second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Councilman Miranda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item number 6, REZ 25-63, orders being presented for first reading consideration. An ordinance rezoning property in general vicinity of 3804 West San Pedro Street, the city of Tampa, Florida, more particularly described in section 1 from zoning district classification R01 residential office to PD plan development office business professional, providing an effective date along with the revision sheet.
We have a motion from Councilman Miranda, second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it.
Okay, motion carried unanimously. Second reading and adoption will be held on September 18th, 2025 at 10 a.m. at Old City Hall, located at 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, 3rd floor, Tampa, Florida, 33602.
Thank you. I appreciate the brevity of everybody not repeating things that have already been said. That's noted, by the way. Thank you. Okay, we are cooking along. Item number 7.
Good evening, Stephanie Pope, Development Coordination. Agenda item number 7 is REZ 2566, request to rezone 101, 105, 109, 111 North Meridian Avenue, 1105 East Washington Street, and 102, and 106 North 12th Street from Channel District 2, which was approved under REZ 1883 for residential multifamily, retail sales, and AC storage uses, to Channel District 2 for residential multifamily, retail sales, shopper goods, and hotel uses. We do have a revised revision sheet that I would like to give to you. We'll start with an aerial view of the subject site and the surrounding area. You can see the subject site is outlined here in red on North Meridian Avenue. The subject site encompasses 2 parcels located on the east side of North Meridian Avenue between East Washington and East Whiting Street. The development pattern in the immediate area of the subject site is a mix of residential, multifamily, and commercial uses. North and south of the subject site is zoned Channel District 3. To the west of the site, across Meridian Avenue, is zoned Central Business District 2, and this is the boundary for that downtown CBD and CD districts. And east of the site is CD1 and CD2, and has commercial uses and a TECO substation. Next, we'll put up the site plan. This way you can see all of it. Here's the boundary of the entire site, which is everything there. This is parcel 1, which exists which exists and is developed today. Parcel 2 is located here, which is being presented in front of you today. No changes are occurring on Parcel 1. The site plan is provided by the applicant. As mentioned before, the site plan identifies Phase 1 and Phase 2. Phase 1, which is Parcel 1 here, is built with residential multifamily uses, the Meridian Tower. Phase 2 remains vacant, which is what is being brought forth today. The applicant is proposing a site plan identifying one new 15-story building on site containing hotel, restaurant, shoppers, goods, retail uses, and the existing use of the residential multifamily will remain on the Phase 1 portion, which is unchanged, the Meridian Tower. The proposed mixed-use tower is located at the intersection of East Washington, which is here, and North Meridian Avenue. There is one vehicular entrance. I'll zoom in now so you can kind of see this a little bit better, which is here. And that is for both ingress and egress on East Washington Street. The vehicular entrance also serves as the drop-off for the hotel and the entrance for the on-site parking garage. So here's the drop-off and then the parking garage. There's a proposed 6-foot pedestrian walkway between the drop-off drive aisle and the entrance. This walkway wraps around the site to provide access to North Meridian Avenue. The hotel lobby and operations are located on the ground floor. The subject site is reviewed for compliance with district standards by Urban Design. The site plan submitted is consistent with Channel District standards. The site has a future land use designation of Regional Mixed Use 100. Projects in the RMU 100 may be determined by either density or FAR. Given the location of this site in the central business district periphery, development up to 7.0 FAR is permitted with bonus provisions met. The applicant proposes development at the 7.0 FAR and has entered into a bonus agreement and agrees to provide public parking spaces on site and payment in the amount of $289,700 to achieve that. Next, I'll show you the elevations. This is the Phase 1, which is the existing building on site. So this is the north elevation, the west elevation, there's the south elevation, and then the east elevation. Next, I'll show you the proposed elevations here. This is the north elevation, the west elevation, the south elevation, and the east elevation. Then we'll go through some photos as quickly as we can. We're going to kind of walk around the site here. So this is south of the site, and you can see you're looking at here is the Pier House on Meridian. So then this is south of the site, looking east. This is going further east. And again, we're just kind of walking in the same direction. This is south of the site. And another view at that. Looking north on the eastern portion of Phase 1. This is east of the site. Again, we're just kind of walking down through there, continuing east. This is a view of the southeast. And then we move over here to Washington, and you're looking at the Phase 1 and the Phase 2 in the foreground. This is the off of Washington looking across Meridian. This is at Washington and Meridian and looking across Washington at the Slade development. This is looking north of the site on Washington, looking east. And then this is a little bit further view of looking over Meridian towards downtown, and the Slade on your right. Here's that Tico substation adjacent to the Phase 2. This is the interior of the site. looking towards that phase one. This is looking towards phase one, down Meridian. This is looking across Meridian towards the central business district. This is another view of the phase two of the site. This is Meridian and Whiting looking west, and then we come back around to the Pier House development. Development and coordination and compliance staff review the application and find the request to be consistent with the land development code. There are 2 waivers as part of this request. If city council approves the application and modifications to the site plan as shown on the submitted revised revision sheet must be completed between first and second readings. I'm available for any questions.
I know you know what I'm thinking.
I know.
We had a conversation before about redundant photos. Anybody have any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Emily Phelan, Planning Commission staff. This is in the Central Tampa Planning District, the Channel District Urban Village, the Channel District Neighborhood, the Coastal High Hazard Area, and Evacuation Zone A. The subject site located here is represented with a Regional Mixed Use 100 designation, which does provide for high intensity density residential and regional serving commercial developments. The RMU 100 designation is to the north, east, and south of the subject site, and to the west of the subject site is the Central Business District Future Land Use designation. The subject site is within the Central Business District periphery, and as such, the applicant is utilizing the bonus to achieve the additional density. They are proposing a 7.0 FAR. The Planning Commission staff finds that the proposed uses are compatible with the existing urban development pattern. The comprehensive plan encourages residential, mixed-use, retail, service, commercial, and other pedestrian-oriented uses along mixed-use corridors to be oriented to the street by placing them toward the front of properties with entries fronting the street. The proposed development will provide 4 pedestrian entrances along Meridian Avenue for the new mixed-use building, while the existing one is not changing. The structured parking garage has been architecturally integrated into the overall design as the comprehensive plan promotes. And overall, the proposed PD is comparable and compatible with the surrounding urban context and is consistent with the long-range vision and development pattern encouraged under the Regional Mixed Use 100 Future Land Use designation. And that concludes my presentation, if you have any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you. Applicant?
Good evening, Council. Tyler Hudson, 400 North Ashley Drive. Here for what was already planned as a very short presentation. I'm joined here by JB McKibben. JB is the president of McKibben Hospitality, who is the developer and the property owner. Give me 1 second, get this slideshow going. We also have a retinue of experts available, not quite as many as my partner Truitt brought, but if you have any specific questions, we can answer those as well.
We had to have additional resources for seats.
So I'm not going to repeat Stephanie's thorough presentation of the project. I don't think anyone is asking for that. However, this project does have a bit of history that I think is worth explaining. I think the 3 of you, I believe Councilman Miranda, Maniscalco, and Vieira were here back in 2018 when this was brought forward as a mixed-use self-storage and apartment project. It was not particularly popular either with the neighborhood or with this council. It was unanimously denied, litigated, mediated, approved as a settlement. In 2021, the multifamily parcel sold, and that was developed. It opened up last year. It's 101 Meridian. It's a great looking project. The storage parcel has traded ownership throughout the years. Fortunately, found the McKibben Hospitality folks, and JB's going to introduce himself here in a little bit. Tampa-based hospitality operator, owner. I think this is his first time here at Tampa City Council. They typically buy existing hotels, but they're really excited about this opportunity. That's really all we have. We don't want to spike the football on the 1 yard line. We've got full consistency, which is a little bit easier to do, I'll say, in the Channel District. Just the design standards are a little bit more relaxed for this type of urban development. But it was great working with staff. JB did work with the Channel District CAC, showed the project. We're not aware of any objections or any folks who are mourning the loss of the storage entitlement here. So with that, I'm going to turn things over to JB to talk a little bit about his company, himself, and then that's it.
Evening, Council. JB McKibben, President, McKibben Equities. Just wanted to tell you all a little bit about McKibben. We're a 99-year-old family-owned business. We've been in the Tampa Bay market now for over 30 years. We've developed 12 products in the Tampa Bay area, including my first development, the Hyatt House in West Shore that opened in 2021. We manage 4 assets down in downtown today. We built the Courtyard and the Residence Inn that are downtown many years ago. And we have been trying very hard to build a new product in downtown for quite some time, and just really excited for the opportunity to give our little take on the future of downtown Tampa and the skyline, and deliver a project everyone can be proud of and the neighborhood loves. Thank you.
That's all we got. Thanks for your time.
Any questions? Is there anybody in the public that wishes to speak to this item? Oh, no, Councilwoman Hurte.
I just want to say what needs to be said, that we really do appreciate that this isn't a storage facility, but on top of it is my favorite Marriott brand, the Moxie. Wherever I go, I try to stay at. It's the perfect location for this particular hotel. It's very urban, so really looking forward to that.
Councilman Bureau.
No, I remember this case, of no relevancy to today, but I remember this case well, where I made a comment that I immediately regretted that got put in the complaint. So I remember that. I remember that very well. That was not my finest denial. That was not good. But,
I love that when happens to a lawyer. I love the roof line, by the way. Nice.
Why don't you repeat it, because we forgot what it was.
It's nice to see interesting architecture. We have so many boxes. It's nice to see something more interesting. So I appreciate the roof line. Councilman Miranda.
I just want to say it's a nice addition, a beautiful design, what I saw, and it fits the area beautiful. It's just wonderful to be here. Thank you.
Okay, we had a motion to
close.
We had a motion to close from Councilman Miranda, a second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Councilman Carlson, would you like to read this one? Seven.
My eyes are giving out. Move file number REZ 25-66, ordinance being presented for first reading consideration, ordinance rezoning property in the general vicinity 101, 105, 109, and 111 North Meridian Avenue, 1105 East Washington Street, and 102 and 106 North 12th Street in the city of Tampa, Florida, more particularly described in section 1 from zoning district classification CD2 channel district to CD2 channel district retail sales, shoppers, goods, residential, multifamily, and hotel, providing effective date.
Do we have a revision sheet, Ben?
Plus the revised revision sheet.
We have a motion from Councilman Carlson, a second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it.
Okay, motion carried unanimously. Second reading and adoption will be held on September 18th, 2025 at 10 a.m. at Old City Hall, located at 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, 3rd floor, Tampa, Florida, 33602.
Thank you. Moving on, number 8 with the Scrivener's error corrected.
Good evening, Stephanie Pope, Development Coordination. Agenda item number 8 is REZ 2567, request to rezone 7402 North Hutton Place from RS 60 to RS 50. First, we'll start with the survey. You can see the outline of the parcel in yellow there. And the applicant intends to split the lot into 3 parcels. The frontage of the lots is proposed along East Crenshaw here. This is going to be North Hutton, and this is East Crenshaw. Next, we have an aerial view of the subject site and the surrounding area. Here is the subject site outlined in red, and it is off of North Hutton, which is right here. The subject site is located on the northwest intersection of East Crenshaw and North Hutton Place. The surrounding area's development pattern is characterized by single-family detached uses to the north, south, west, and east. And as you move, you can see that all here. as you move east and you get closer to 40th Street, that's where it turns into a more commercial area. Given the mix of uses in the immediate area and the subject block, the requested RS50 rezoning is consistent with the development pattern. Next, we'll put up the conforming map. The subject site is a part of the Temple Crest Unit Number 3, Block 48, lots 10, 11, and 12. The subject block, Block 48, was platted in 1923 with 12 lots with frontages ranging in width from 45 feet to greater than 100 feet. The area of analysis includes 81 parcels. The following analysis being provided focuses on the parcels facing Crenshaw. So here's the subject site in the hatched area, and we're going to focus right here on these along East Crenshaw. The remaining analysis has been provided in the staff report for the other lots. The subject block face, which contains the subject site located on the north side of East Crenshaw Street between North Hutton Place and North Center Drive, which is here, contains 3 parcels, including the subject site, with 2 parcels, or 67%, having lot widths of 80 feet to 99.99 feet, and 1 parcel, or 33%, having lot width of 100 feet or greater. The block face on the south side of East Crenshaw Street, which is going to be this one here, it is on East Crenshaw between North Hutton Place and North Center Drive, contains 4 parcels with 4 or 100% having lot widths of 55 feet to 59.99 feet. Staff has identified in the overall study area that 41% of the parcels have been developed with a width of 60 feet or greater, and 59% have a width of 59.99 feet or less. While there are a variety of lot sizes within the vicinity of the subject site, staff finds the proposed request to be consistent with the existing development pattern of the overall study area. Since this is a Euclidean rezoning, there is no site plan or elevation, so I'll move on to some photos of the site. Here's a photo of the site. This is southeast of the site on Crenshaw looking towards Hutton. This is on Hutton looking south. This is at Crenshaw and Hutton, a multifamily. This is looking north on Hutton. This is south of the site, looking west on Crenshaw. This is the west side of Crenshaw, and these are just to show you some of the development patterns in the area and the subject block we were talking about. This is south of the site on Crenshaw. This is across Crenshaw, south of the site. This is east of the site. This is north of the site. And then again, this is north of the site. Development and coordination and compliance staff review the application and find the request to be consistent with the land development code. And I'm available if you have any questions.
Any questions? Councilwoman Hurtak.
What is the width of the site?
The width of the site, let me pull
Like
up
if you could put the first picture back?
Yes. It's 170.
Okay.
Big lot.
So
Okay.
it's 170 by, what is that? 110.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Emily Phelan, Planning Commission staff. The site's within the University Planning District, the Temple Crest Neighborhood and Evacuation Zone D. The subject site is here represented with the Residential 10 designation, which is to the north, west, and south of the subject site. To the east along Hutton Place is the Community Mixed Use 35 designation. This portion of East Crenshaw Street, excluding the subject site, has an existing density of 5.2 dwelling units per acre, approximately 52% of the density anticipated under the residential 10 designation. The proposed rezoning is consistent with the surrounding development pattern and the zoning pattern. The request supports many policies related to housing the city's population within the comprehensive plan and ensures an adequate supply of housing is available to meet the needs of Tampa's present and future populations. Overall, the request is comparable and compatible with the surrounding area and is consistent with the long-range development pattern anticipated under the residential 10 future land use designation. And that concludes my presentation if you have any questions.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Okay, applicant.
Good evening, City Council. My name
Were you
is
sworn in?
Yodelkis. Yes, I did. My name is Yodelkis Barbosa. I am with Worfshire Group and Finreet Construction Group. And we originally acquired all these properties from someone that had passed away probably like about 10 years ago, and the properties were all bringing a lot of blight to the area. We've since remodeled some of the houses, demolished a ton of the houses, and rebuilt at least 6 or 7 of the houses. And this is one of the parcels that still needs to be done. I get a lot of complaints from the neighbors because it's still very forested, but we know that we can't do anything with the trees or anything like that until we bring some developments or propose some developments. So that's what we're looking to do. We're trying to bring some new constructions to the area. We've done plenty in this area as well, as Seminole Heights and stuff like that, and we're the general contractors ourselves. So we'll bring something pretty nice. Typically, like our elevations is about 4 feet above where they need to be. So they look like massive houses, even though they're 1 stories.
Thank you. Anything else?
No, that is all.
Is there anybody in the public that wishes to speak to this item? Motion to close from Councilman Miranda, a second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Councilman Vera.
Thank you.
I move file REZ 2567, ordinance presented for first reading consideration, an ordinance rezoning property in general vicinity of 7402 North Hutton Place in the city of Tampa, Florida, more particularly described in section 1 from zoning district classification RS60 residential single family to RS60 residential single family, and providing an effective date.
RS50.
Okay.
So RS60
I'm
to
so
RS50.
sorry. RS50. My apologies. Thank you, sir.
No worries. We have a motion from Councilman Vera, a second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Unanimous.
Okay, motion carried unanimously. Second reading and adoption will be held on September 18th, 2025 at 10 a.m. at Old City Hall, located at 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, 3rd floor, Tampa, Florida, 33602.
Number 9, Mr. Thomas.
Ready. Sam Thomas, Development Coordination. Agenda item number 9 is REZ 2568, a request to rezone 1320 West Arch Street from residential single family 50 to planned development for residential single family semi-detached. We'll start with our aerial map outlined in red here on West Arch Street. It's within the West Tampa overlay. The surrounding development pattern around the subject of the north, south, east, and west is predominantly single family detached with RS50 zoning. When you move just west of North Oregon Avenue, you have an RM18 zoning spot here. This was approved recently by this council in 2024. Then when you move to the east, you have a planned development here for 2 single-family detached units. That's REZ 1734. We'll go ahead and go to the site plan provided by the applicant. So the applicant is proposing 2 semi-detached units. They're both oriented towards West Arch Street with access, vehicular access provided via the alley in the rear. Currently, the applicant is showing a 1-car parking garage with a tandem parking space behind it. But between first and second reading, the applicant has agreed to modify the plan to create 2 19 by 22 2-car garages instead of the tandem parking. And that proposed change will result in the rear setback going from 15 feet to 14 feet, but it will remove the waiver that is currently on the site plan for the backup distance required to the alley. By providing the 2 tandem spots, the spot here is what would require the waiver backing up into the alley. So by having two parking spots here in the garage, that waiver would be able to be removed from the site plan. So the applicant's going to make that modification between first and second reading.
Councilwoman Hurtak.
That waiver really doesn't matter to me. I mean, I think that this is perfectly fine. Keeping a little bit of yard space and a little bit of green space seems to be preferable. I mean, I suppose they can change it, but that seems, I wouldn't know why you'd want to change that.
I agree. I think this, having the,
Yeah.
with the external, we're moving towards this kind of a plan anyway, with, as long as you can accommodate a vehicle in the
Yeah.
driveway and with an alley, I kind of concur with that.
Yeah, the applicant was worried about not providing the two-car garages that.
I like the green space.
Yeah, the green space shouldn't change too much, but we can definitely check, if I could steal a revision sheet, or I'll steal a revision sheet from my packet, and then I can cross those revisions out and then
I
hand
mean,
it
is
to
there
the
two
clerk.
other votes on here that agree with that? Is it?
I understand.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we can just strike those revisions from the revision sheet, and then only a few other modifications can be made, and that waiver will just stay on. You have the sidewalk proposed along West Arch Street, and then the maximum proposed building height is, 31 feet and 9 inches. And given the size of the site, 1 unit is allowed by right, so the applicant is entering a bonus agreement for a payment amount of $25,191.60 to attain that second unit. From that, we will go ahead to the elevations. Here is the rear off the alley. And here's the front off of West Arch Street. Then you have your east and west elevations. We'll go through some pictures real quick. So this is looking directly at the subject site. This is looking north of the subject site across West Arch Street. This is looking west on Fig, east on Fig. This is from the alley looking at the subject site. Looking east down the alley. This is looking west down the alley towards Oregon Avenue. And then I wanted to show a picture of the new single-family semi-detached units that are being developed on that RM18 parcel that I showed you on the overall, on the aerial map. Let's see here.
So I had a question about the alley. Are they gonna have to improve the alley then?
Yes, ma'am, they'll improve the alley.
Great.
Here is the site plan again. Development Coordination and Compliance staff have reviewed the application and find the request to be consistent with the Land Development Code. Should it be pleasure of council to approve the application and modifications to the site plan as shown on the submitted revision sheet. These revisions must be completed between first and second reading, along with the revisions that will be modified on the revision sheet, which will be turned in as part of the record.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Emily Phelan, Planning Commission staff. This site is located within the Central Tampa Planning District, the West Tampa Urban Village, the West Riverfront Neighborhood, and Evacuation Zone C. The subject site is located here. It is surrounded by the Residential 20 designation. This portion of West Arch Street, excluding the subject site, is developed at an existing density of 8.20 dwelling units per acre based off of 11 sample sites, which is approximately 41% of the density anticipated under the Residential 20 designation. While the proposed PD proposes 2 dwelling units at a density of 18.18 units per acre, which is higher than the average density, Planning Commission staff found that the proposed rezoning would allow for development pattern envisioned by the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan encourages single-family attached uses to be designed with front doors oriented toward neighborhood sidewalks or streets. The proposed PD has the primary entrances oriented towards West Arch Street. Overall, the request supports the city's housing policies by adding additional housing within the West Tampa Urban Village and the West Riverfront neighborhood. Additionally, the request encourages new housing on underutilized land. The request is comparable and compatible with the surrounding area and is consistent with the long-range development pattern encouraged under the residential 20 future land use designation. And that concludes my presentation if you have any questions.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Applicant?
Good evening, Council. James Lascara. I am the owner and the applicant. I live 2 blocks away. I live at 1313 Grace. Really love doing projects in my own neighborhood. I'm going to show you an overhead of the existing land use right now. So in Markton, if we could go to the overhead. Markton Green was the rezoning that we actually did last year, which were the new construction units that Sam showed. And the Markton Blue is the subject site. I reached out to the property owners, and we have support from the property owner here, who I believe is in attendance, property owner here, and the property owner directly adjacent, and we have no opposition. I prepared a revision sheet if we want to see the 2-car garage, because transportation came back inconsistent with the waiver we were requesting. But if it's okay with council, I prefer the 1-car garage.
That's what I was just going to ask. We don't mean to like dictate your commerce, but if you know, I think you see with those 4 people here that we're okay with that.
Okay. Yeah. I appreciate that comment. Besides that, excited to have been marked consistent from staff and respectfully request your approval.
Thank you. Is there anybody in the public that wishes to speak to this item? Yeah, absolutely. Start with your name and you have 3 minutes.
Sam Garbia. I live almost directly across the street.
You have to start. You have to start when you're up there because the microphone's in and they pick it up.
My apologies. Sam Garbia. I live almost directly across the street from the site of the application. I'm just here in support. Moved to Tampa about a year ago, loving it, and seeing the growth in the neighborhood. So looking forward to more development. So thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else in the audience who wishes to speak to this item? We have a motion to close from Councilman Miranda, second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. We left off with Councilwoman Hurtak.
They're working on the revision, so I'm gonna see if they. Okay. So can I call it the revised revision? Yeah. Excellent. Okay, and which has been submitted into the record. So file number REZ 25-68, ordinance being presented for first reading consideration, an ordinance rezoning property in the general vicinity of 1320 West Arch Street in the city of Tampa, Florida, and more particularly described in section 1 from zoning district classification, excuse me, RS 50 residential single family to PD planned development residential single family semi-detached, providing an effective date and including the revised revision sheet just submitted into the record.
I think we have a motion from Councilwoman Hurtak, a second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Motion carried unanimously. Second reading and adoption will be held on September 18th, 2025 at 10 a.m. at Old City Hall, located at 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, 3rd floor, Tampa, Florida, 33602. Motion carried with Vieira absent at vote.
Good catch. Oh, okay. 10. Diez.
I know, I'm like.
5 times 2.
Let's not go back, right?
Okay, so I flunked Spanish, okay?
Yes.
My 5-year-old granddaughter knows what that is, and I don't. That's a shame.
Stephanie Pope, Development Coordination. Agenda item number 10 is REZ 2569, request to rezone 5408 North Habana Avenue and 5411 North Paddock Avenue from residential single-family 50 and commercial general to residential multifamily 18. We'll start with an aerial view of the subject site and the surrounding area. You can see the subject site outlined in red here. This is North Habana, Hillsborough, and Paddock. And the subject site located on the west side of North Habana Avenue and extends through to the east side of North Paddock Avenue. The area immediately surrounding the subject site is comprised of single-family detached units and vacant parcels to the north. You can see them here on the aerial. And commercial and medical office use to the south, multifamily units and a gas station with a car wash to the east, and single-family detached units and a medical office to the west. So those are here to the west. I'll go ahead and put up the survey. Here's a survey of the subject site with the boundary outlined in green. The site has approximately 100 feet of street frontage along North Habana Avenue and 100 feet of street frontage along North Paddock Avenue. The site also has a total depth of 200 feet along the north and south property line. Put back up the aerial. Given the surrounding uses, the requested use of residential multifamily 18 is appropriate in location and provides an appropriate transition with surrounding parcels, including the commercial general zoning to the south and the residential single-family 50 zoning to the north. I just wanted to point out that you can see here that line. So the commercial general is here, and then the residential is there, and this parcel encompasses both of those zonings. Next, I'll move on to some photos of the site. This is a photo of the subject site looking west. This is west on Paddock Avenue. This is the subject site looking east. This is east of the subject site. Again, we're east, and that's that car wash and gas station. This is north. This is south with that medical use. And then this is just another photo south. Development Coordination and Compliance staff have reviewed the application and find the request to be consistent with the City of Tampa Land Development regulations. I am available for any questions.
Any questions? Thank you.
I'll turn it over to Planning Commission.
Emily Phelan, Planning Commission staff. The site was within the University Planning District and it is not within an evacuation zone. The subject site is here and it's within the Community Mixed Use 35 designation, which is to the south of the site along West Hillsborough Avenue, and to the north of the site is the Residential 10 designation. Given the mixture of single-family detached, multifamily, and commercial uses, the proposed RM18 zoning district would provide a transition between the commercial uses to the south and the single-family uses to the north. The site is just north of West Hillsborough Avenue, a mixed-use and transit emphasis corridor. The proposed development would add to the range of housing options in proximity to jobs, services, and transit, and should address the mixed-use centers and corridor policies within the comprehensive plan for the future development. The request supports many policies related to housing the city's population. The proposed request would provide infill development on a vacant site to ensure an adequate supply of housing is available to meet the needs of Tampa's present and future populations. And the proposed rezoning is comparable and compatible with the surrounding area and the long-term development pattern encouraged under the CMU 35, so it is consistent with the CMU 35 designation. And that concludes my presentation if you have any questions.
Any questions? Thank you. Man, I appreciate that moving along. That's good. Applicant.
Good evening, City Council. Eileen Rosario. I'm here as an agent for the representative for 5408 North Habana, and they just would like to rezone the properties, make some multifamilies units to be able to hopefully rent them out. They want to see if they can help the community. I have nothing else. That's it.
Okay, is there anybody in the audience that
Thank
wishes
you.
to speak to this item?
Move to close.
We have a motion to close from Councilman Miranda, second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. I believe we're at Councilman Maniscalco.
Thank you very much. I have an ordinance being presented for first reading consideration. Ordinance rezoning property in the general vicinity of 5408 North Habana Avenue and 5411 North Paddock Avenue in the city of Tampa, Florida, and more particularly described in section 1 from zoning district classification RS50 residential single family and CG commercial general to RM18 residential multifamily, providing an effective date and the revision sheet.
And the revision sheet. We have a motion from Councilman. Well, if there is, there is.
No.
There's
No,
there's
no.
not. Okay.
Oh.
Okay. We have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco without a revision sheet and a second from Councilman Hurtek. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? The ayes have it.
Motion carried unanimously. Second reading and adoption will be held on September 18th, 2025 at 10 a.m. at Old City Hall, located at 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, 3rd floor, Tampa, Florida, 33602.
Thank you. Mr. Thomas, number 11.
Development Coordination. Agenda item number 11 is REZ 2579, a request to rezone 4823 and 4825 West Flamingo Road from residential single-family 50 to residential multifamily 18. We'll start with our aerial view. Here's the subject site here, outlined in red on West Flamingo. You have quite a mix of uses surrounding the subject site. North of the subject site, you have RM24 with residential multifamily. Along Southwest Shore, you have commercial general uses. Then once you move interior to West Flamingo, you have RM24 and CG split property here with residential multifamily. You have some RM16, RM18 along the south, and CG, which is developed with single-family semi-detached uses and attached uses. And then directly next to the subject site, you have a planned development that is approved for attached uses. You have RS60 here along the south with single-family detached. You have one single-family detached home directly next to the subject site. And I just realized this box should include this other home right here. So it would be both of these here. And then as you move farther west, you have a planned development there for semi-detached uses. There is no site plan because this is a Euclidean rezoning. But I will state for the record that based on the subject site size, under the RM18 zoning district, a maximum of 6 dwelling units could be considered if this request is approved. So we'll go through some pictures now. This is looking north at the subject site. Here's the other house that is a part of the subject site. This is looking south across the street. This is looking north, and this is to the east of the subject site, the semi-detached uses that are located directly next to it, or the attached uses, excuse me. And then this is looking west down Flamingo, where you have the planned development for the attached uses. So, I'll put the aerial back up. Development Coordination and Compliance staff reviewed the request and find that the application is consistent. The proposed RM18 zoning is compatible with the surrounding development pattern. Unless there's any questions, I'll turn it over to Emily.
Thank you.
Emily Phelan, Planning Commission staff. The site is within the South Tampa Planning District, the Bayside West neighborhood, the coastal high hazard area, and evacuation zone A. The subject site is located here, and it's under the residential 20 designation, which is to the east, south, and west of the subject site, and to the north is a residential 35, and further east along West Shore is the community mixed use 35 designation. The RM 35 zoning district can be considered and would be compatible infill development. This portion of West Flamingo Road, excluding the subject site, is developed at an existing density of 8.73 dwelling units per acre based on 27 sample sites. And this is approximately 43% of the density anticipated under the residential 20 designation. The proposed rezoning is consistent with other zoning districts supporting multifamily development, including the planned developments, the RM 24, 18, and 16 zoning districts. The request will provide opportunities for housing at slightly higher densities than the surrounding area, which is supported by the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan also encourages multifamily and single-family attached uses to be designed with front doors oriented towards neighborhood sidewalks or streets. Future development should have the front entrances oriented towards West Flamingo Road. Overall, the request supports the city's housing policies by adding additional housing within the Bayside West neighborhood. The proposed request would provide infill development to ensure an adequate supply is available to meet the needs of Tampa's present and future populations. The proposed request is comparable and compatible with the surrounding area and is consistent with the development pattern anticipated under the residential 20 future land use designation. And that concludes my presentation if you have any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? No? Applicant?
Good evening, City Council. Thank you for your time. My name is Jim Tagg. I reside at 4618 Beta Bay Boulevard. Thank you for the staff, compliant with all recommendations and requirements, including the future use plan. I would note, as you saw from the pictures, This is a neighborhood that was devastated by the hurricanes. This is an opportunity for the members of that community to rebuild. Thank you for your time, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, is there anybody in the audience who wishes to speak to this item?
Move to close.
Motion to close from Councilman Miranda, second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Councilman Miranda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item number 11, file number REZ 25-79, an ordinance being presented for first reading consideration, an ordinance rezoning property in general vicinity of 2823 and 2825 West Flamingo Road in the city of Tampa, Florida, more particularly described in section 1 from zoning districts classification RS60 residential single family to RM18 residential multifamily, providing an effective date. Along with the revision sheet, if there is any.
There is none. We have a motion, no revision sheet. We have a motion from Councilman Miranda, second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Okay. Motion carried unanimously. Second reading and adoption will be held on September 18th, 2025 at 10 a.m. at Old City Hall, located at 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, 3rd floor, Tampa, Florida, 33602.
Last item of the night.
Good evening, Stephanie Pope, Development Coordination. Agenda item number 12 is RAZ 2468, request to rezone 307 South Melville Avenue from planned development for residential single-family detached and semi-detached uses to planned development for residential single-family detached uses. I'll provide a very brief background. This application was heard before Tampa City Council on April 10th, 2025. At that public hearing, the applicant was directed to work on the design of the site plan to address parking concerns given the number of units proposed. The applicant has since eliminated a unit from the site plan, proposing 3 units instead of 4 units, therefore eliminating the need for a parking waiver. Here we have an aerial view of the subject site and the surrounding area. You can see the subject parcel is outlined in red here, and that is on the northwest corner of South Melville Avenue and West Azale Street. The surrounding the subject site contains single-family detached, semi-detached, and multifamily uses. Surrounding the subject site on the northwest and east is residential multifamily 16, and to the south there is a planned development zoning with existing use of residential single-family detached and semi-detached. You can see that here. Within the subject block, there are multiple planned developments surrounding the subject site, with the majority containing residential uses. Next, we'll show the site plan. Here are the proposed site plans submitted by the applicant. This is lot 1 here, and it has 2 existing single-family detached homes, which will remain on lot 1. The existing single-family detached home fronts South Melville with the entrance, pedestrian walkway, and drive aisle. The second single-family detached, which is right here, entrance faces the 14-foot public alley with existing driveway and parking off the alley. Lot 2, which is this one here, the applicant proposes to construct single-family semi-detached uses on the vacant lot. The proposed 2-story single-family detached unit fronts South Melville with a front door, porch, and pedestrian walkway connecting to the existing 5-foot sidewalk along South Melville. The proposed single-family detached bonus area and garage, which is right here, have access from West Azale Street. This is the area that was the separate unit and is no longer a separate unit. Next, we'll show the elevations. This is the existing home on lot 1. So the east elevation, the west elevation, the north elevation, and the south elevation. And then this is that other detached existing single-family residence. That's the southwest elevation, the east elevation, and then the northwest elevation. And then next we will show the proposed semi-detached here, which is the east elevation here, west elevation here, south elevation, and you can see the home, and then the garage, and the north elevation. Next we'll show a few photos of the site. This is west of the site from the subject site looking north on Melville. This is east of the site. This is south of the site. This is on Melville looking south. This is east of the site looking across Melville. This is the rear of Lot 1. This is the subject site, a view from the alley. This is turned around looking towards Azeel from the alley. This is another view of the subject site. And then finally, one last view of the subject site. Development Coordination and Compliance staff review the application and find the request to be consistent with the Land Development Code. There are no waivers as part of this request. If City Council approves the application, the modifications to the site plan as shown on the submitted revision sheet must be completed between first and second reading. I'm available for any questions.
Any questions? Applicant? Oh, I'm sorry, Planning Commission. I'm trying to get us out of here, man.
Before I begin, I do have a revised staff report that reflects the change in the unit count that Stephanie mentioned earlier. It has been updated onto OnBase, but I have a hard copy as well. Emily Phelan, Planning Commission staff. This is in the Central Tampa Planning District, the Hyde Park National Historic District, the Soho Neighborhood, and Evacuation Zone C. The subject site is located here in the Residential 35 designation, which does surround the subject site on all sides. Moving further north along West Platte is the Community Mixed Use 35 designation. This portion of South Melville Avenue between West Platte Street and West Horatio Street, excluding the subject site and only including the residential 35 designated parcels, has an existing density of 18.74 dwelling units per acre. The proposed 3 units would be developed at 12.5 units per acre, which is below the density along this segment of South Melville Avenue, but it's still consistent with the density anticipated under the residential 35 future land use designation. The request supports the city's housing policies by adding additional housing within the Soho neighborhood. The request would provide infill development on an underutilized lot. While the request aligns with several policies outlined in the comprehensive plan, it does not fully address the policies related to vehicular access from alleys. The request includes access for the northwestern home, but the southwestern detached garage is not proposed to have alley access. The comprehensive plan encourages vehicular access from alleys where feasible. The applicant could modify the site plan to utilize the alley access to this unit, though additional backup space may be needed. And this modification would better align with the comprehensive plan policies supporting alley access and result in a better design and would help preserve the alley's form and function within the Hyde Park National District. Overall, while Planning Commission staff has determined that the applicant has addressed many of the policies outlined in the comprehensive plan, staff recommends that the applicant reconsider the vehicular access to the garage from the alley for the southwestern garage, and if approved, that should be made between first and second readings, but overall, it is consistent with the overall direction of the comprehensive plan. And that concludes my presentation. If you have any questions.
Any questions? Applicant.
Good evening, Council. Steve Michelini representing the petitioner here. Let me show you, first of all, give you some orientation regarding the site. This is the aerial showing the property, the subject property here, the vacant lot here. Currently, that's zoned for 4 townhouses. So they're proposing to abandon that project and to save this bungalow with the existing additional structure in the rear. The staff has pointed out to you, this is the site view looking to the south, and this is looking to the east, and this is the subject property over here on the east side. This is existing, our proposed site plan. This is the bungalow that I just showed you being retained, which maintains the historic character of the neighborhood. This is existing structure in the rear, which also would be retained. This is the proposed new structure here, and this was all supposed to be redeveloped into a 4-townhouse project. The garage is here, and I know the staff, Planning Commission staff had pointed out to try to reorient this. However, if you reorient it, then you lose the green space that we're providing for each of those units. It doesn't affect this side, but it does affect this side. And lot 1, which is on over here, we retain 1,928 square feet of green space when 1,545 square feet is required. And the same is here for this side. 1,545 is required, and we're providing 2,027 square feet. This is residential 35, which you could build, if you could meet the other criteria, you could build 8 units. There are no waivers being requested, so we're not in the position of trying to waive anything that would affect the development of the site. We're surrounded by multifamily. We have 9 letters of support, which I'll enter into the record. Each of these letters account for the north, south, east, and west property owners adjacent to this site. The garage is 20 by 24 with the garbage collection being retained inside, and it's noted that the garbage would be retained inside. The council had discussed with us at the last meeting that we should revisit this, examine the number of units being proposed, and address the concerns given the number of units and the waivers that were being previously requested. The public hearing, the applicant was directed to work with the design, the site plan, and address parking concerns given the number of units. We have done that, and we have eliminated the need for a parking waiver. This retains the existing historic character of the neighborhood. It adds another unit. The owner of the property plans to live in that unit, so it's not a speculation type of development at all. With respect to the various criteria established by the Planning Commission, we meet all of the criteria except for the recommendation regarding the access. And I think I showed you on the pictures that every property along this street accesses it off of Azeel and not off of the alley. We will maintain the alley access for this unit. However, if we have a hardship with this one, although if you look at the report by the city staff, it's been found consistent by transportation. So in terms of the technical standards, we meet all of that criteria. And if you go through their staff report again, we meet the goals and objectives of the Planning Commission. We meet the site consists of 9 units with a bonus, but we're requesting 3, which is a significant reduction in intensity and density. We've gone a long way toward meeting the criteria that was established and requested by City Council. I'll be happy to enter these letters of support. With respect to the criteria for planned developments, it promotes the significant and efficient and sustainability of land and infrastructure. Not only are we retaining 2 units, we're adding 1 unit when we could add 8. Acknowledge the changing needs and technology. The proposed uses of the residential single-family detached for redevelopment of vacant portions is consistent with the plan and is consistent with the long-range goals and objectives of this area. Encourage flexible development. This is unique in the fact that we are retaining 2 units and requesting the addition of 1. Promote and encourage development of its appropriate location. We have an opportunity here to do something that is compatible and consistent with the development pattern as well as the historic nature of the neighborhood. Promote desirable living conditions. The owner plans to live in the new unit and maintain that as his own residence. And promote the architectural elements as established by the historic district. We will be consistent with that. I'll be happy to answer any questions or request that you have the staff reports made a part of the record.
Councilwoman Hurtak.
I'm going to go on record saying that I'm disappointed that we can't have the other additional space above the garage, but I'm also curious, if it is no longer going to be a separate unit, why is the staircase on the alley and not on the inside?
It's a workspace bonus room. It's no longer a residential unit.
Yes, but I'm wondering why if it's like a workspace, you wouldn't want to access that from the from your backyard instead of from the alley.
Because the pool.
Hold on.
No, I'm just curious.
Well, part of it is because the pool and the backyard is on that side.
Okay, but yeah, I'm just.
And then the only other way to do that would be.
Oh, are you constrained by? No, you have to fit the stairwell in. I was just curious.
It's just a design element. We're trying to keep.
It seems like your client wants to respond.
Well, that's fine. Well, we're trying to keep the green space on the interior as opposed to the
okay.
exterior.
Okay. Just curious.
Do you want to add anything?
Well, we have the AC units on the, I'm Scott Johnson. I live at 208 South Albany Avenue. I think the reason we put the staircase there is because we had the AC units for the main house aligned on the backside, and there was a length limitation, I was told, for the refrigerant lines from one end to the other, so it just seemed to lay out better in that position.
Thank you. Just
Yep.
curious.
And he's been sworn.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to speak to this item? Councilman Carlson.
Yeah, I just want to, Scott, what's your name of your company?
Sir?
What's the name of your company?
Um,
Are you doing this by yourself or your company?
Yeah, this is just for me. When we bought this in 2005, we formed an LLC called Melville Townhomes, and we were going to build 4 big townhomes on these lots. And then
You have to say your name again,
Say
sorry.
your name, sorry.
Oh, Scott Johnson.
Yeah, thank you.
And so, subject to your approval, we're going to have this replatted, and then we'll dissolve that LLC, and it'll just be in my wife and our name.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, thank you for preserving the original buildings and putting them in a PD. This neighborhood has been hoping for a long time that someone would come along and try to do this.
Yeah.
And so, and although the current name of the neighborhood is Soho, it was Oscawana.
That's right.
And the last I met with them a couple months ago, they want to change it to West Hyde Park.
Yeah.
And what you're doing is staying within the historic nature of it. And so I just want to thank you. And if this goes forward, it would be a great case study for others in the future. So thank you.
I really appreciate you saying that. I also want to point out that this is the last block in Oscawana that has all the bungalows. So when we told the neighbors we weren't going to build townhomes and we were going to build a bungalow that matched the street, they were thrilled, as evidenced by all the support letters. So thank you all very much.
Thank you. Is there a motion to close? We have a motion from Councilman Hurtak, a second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Councilman Carlson.
Move file number REZ 24-68. Ordinance being presented for first reading consideration. Ordinance rezoning property in the general vicinity of 307 South Melville Avenue in the city of Tampa, Florida, and more particularly described in section 1 from zoning district classification PD plan development to PD plan development residential single family detached, providing effective date.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Carlson, a second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. We are done with business. Oh, go.
Thank you, council.
Okay, motion carried unanimously. Second reading and adoption will be held on September 18th, 2025 at 10 a.m. at Old City Hall, located at 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, 3rd floor, Tampa, Florida, 33602.
Thank you. The document.
Where are the letters?
The letters?
Yeah.
Okay, new business. Councilman Carlson.
Yeah, a couple comments and then maybe a couple motions.
You're killing us.
Huh?
You're killing us.
I'll talk fast if you don't interrupt me. Number one, we had a lot of cases tonight. That's a great sign for the economy that we have a lot of cases. So even though it's a lot of cases, it's great to hear. Also, you all probably saw the news about Andy Hughes, historian from the USF libraries. What a great guy, and a very sad thing. And just a sign to anybody out there, if you're experiencing challenges from mental health, please reach out and get help. This guy was loved by so many people, and it's so incredibly sad. The other thing is, I would like to make so we have the workshop next Thursday night on the Planning Commission. I think usually people go through the chair, but just in case, I'd like to make a motion to ask a representative from THAN, that's the Umbrella Neighborhood Association, to be on the expert list, so that they are speaking other than just in public comment.
I don't think that would be appropriate. I would have to refer to legal staff.
Usually the chair makes that decision, but.
No, I think that this is a transmittal hearing, so we'll have an opportunity for public comment, and the staff will be doing, how this will work is the staff is going, the Planning Commission will provide the presentation, and then we're going to have, and normally in a workshop, we have a workshop and then we have the transmittal hearing. What my plan is to combine them both so that staff, the people have an opportunity to comment, because workshops, not the public comment issue. We can move them both together as one meeting, and they'll have an opportunity, but I mean, unless council during that meeting wants to make a motion to waive some public comment time, then maybe that, but.
I don't think we're gonna get to, I don't think we're gonna be able to transmit. I think, the new version came out today, and it'll be discussed. You guys have been to a lot of the same meetings I've been to. There's a lot of editing that needs to be done, and I've only heard top line on what the edits.
Yeah, I don't think it's appropriate. I don't think that there's necessarily a role in that particular hearing for an outside organization.
But I also believe that it's always been true that if we ask a question of someone, they can come and answer it.
Correct.
So we can ask a question of anyone in the room. So I think that if we wanted to hear, one of us could simply ask questions. That's been done before.
I think we can do it by vote of council. I don't want to get into a lot of detail on it.
Well, just a reminder that what you're going to be taking up is the workshop, and that is certainly legislative in its function, and so is the transmittal hearing. So we don't have to worry about due process. We just have to be concerned about fairness and consistency. But the question is, it is ultimately your decision of how you want to conduct it.
I'll drop that, but just to say that, the Planning Commission, they all are, the staff are all great people. They've had an earful the last few weeks, as we have. Between the time that we briefed them and the time the Planning Commission approved the second version, or the version we got, there were radical changes. And I don't know who asked for that. Even the builders are against it. But somehow we need to be able to step back and look at it objectively. And the neighborhood association have been taking a lot of lead in putting events together, including one that's at Cafe Con Tampa tomorrow morning, which you all are invited to attend. I promise not to ask any questions or say anything if anybody appears. We're all appearing at all the neighborhood. Many of us are appearing at neighborhood meetings and others where these are being discussed. If any of us wants to say anything, we just walk out of the room in front of a group of people who are witnesses. So anyway, I just wanted to let everybody know that they're invited. That's an event that I'm involved in, but I won't be speaking. Next is we've had some issues with people whose houses flooded, and they're in the process of getting the permits for their homes, and because of the difficulties they've had getting various permits, we changed the sidewalk in lieu of fee in the middle of that process. And I think the staff, what they've told me is they can make exceptions, but what I've seen an indication of some recent emails is they would rather us make a decision to make a waiver on that. I would just like to make a motion to put an item on the workshop on October 30th to discuss waiving the in lieu of fee, or at least the increase for people whose homes were flooded in the storms a year ago.
We have a motion from Councilman.
And I'm not going to debate that.
I don't have a second yet. So.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilman Carlson, a second from Councilman.
We're against that because there's individuals that might have a ditch in front of their house, and they can't put a sidewalk, and the city won't put a pipe in for them to put a sidewalk over, and it would be ridiculous to do that, because you ain't gonna walk down the street, get on a walk 60 feet and jump back out to the street, because there's no connectivity. So I was the only one that voted against that, I believe, and it was only because the city is charging somebody for some fee that they got no benefit, zero, because their money is going to somebody else to build the sidewalk. And that's what I was against that. I'm not against the sidewalks. Let me say that again. So now we're asking to do something else, and I'm still thinking about that poor individual, whoever he or she may be. There may not be any, but I know there is. There's a lot of ditches in Tampa. There's a lot of ditches in every district in the city. There's a lot of trees in the middle of the right-of-way where you cannot build the sidewalk. They're going to charge you for it and give the money to somebody else. And in the world that I live in, if you put the money up, it'll be something that you get benefit from. They don't get no benefit.
Can I, we're kind of arguing the point now. This is just about bringing it up at the October meeting, so maybe we have a motion on the floor from Councilman Carlson, a second from Councilman Vera, about whether we bring this issue up, not about the merits of the issue itself.
Okay, that's fine.
And the question that you have, is this going to be a council discussion, or are you asking the legal department as to?
Well, is it a workshop?
It's a workshop.
Just a council discussion.
Well, the question, and you're asking about waiving fees or per?
You can, if you think we need to invite the legal department,
I would recommend that in case it runs afoul. Somewhere along the line, you should know about it up front. I don't know whether it does or it does not. But
And I'm only suggesting that we talk about it in reference to people whose houses were flooded in Helene and Milton.
Well, I would recommend, if you like, we can talk offline with the legal department beforehand, but I believe that, my sense is that if it's going to require any council action ultimately, or it's going to be administrative action.
I just want to discuss.
Can I have since we have time, we could still place this on the agenda. Why don't we flesh that out about who needs to be there and bring that motion back?
I don't think that, we can always work on that.
I mean, it'd be well received. I think it'd be well received.
We can work on that behind the scenes. I just want to put it on the agenda.
Okay, so we have a motion from Councilman Carlson, a second from Councilman Vieira to place this on the workshop agenda. All those in favor? Oh, sorry, Councilman Hurtak.
Is there a reason it has to be on a workshop? It seems more.
I can't find space I mean, I'd rather do it next week to help people out, but there's no space before then.
Oh, because October is a ways away.
Yeah, if you see something else that we can put on.
If I may.
Staff report.
Councilman Vieira.
I mean, maybe if it is something that could help people out, I'd be all, and so long as we promise that it doesn't take more than 10 minutes, I'd be all for waiving the rules for, on another.
Find a date, magician, Hurtak.
September 18th, we only have 3 staff reports.
Okay, September 18th.
Okay, so we're going to change that motion to add the September 18th agenda, staff report, and we're going to ask for legal opinion on that as well.
The motion is to add to September 18th agenda a city council discussion with legal or staff support on whether or how to waive the in lieu of fee for hurricane victims from a year ago.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Vieira, a second from motion from Councilman Carlson, a second from Councilman Vieira, Councilwoman Hurtak.
And I would just say it would really be awesome if you could get all of that done in the background, like talk to legal, try to flush it out so that they can come with an ordinance or whatever they need, because that way we can just move.
I will.
The faster, because I don't want to talk about it then, I want to be able to move so that we can help people.
What happened is I saw that the staff response have changed now, and I think they need a clear yes or no so that they don't have to make arbitrary decisions.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Yeah, one last thing. Last week, when we were talking about stormwater, I mentioned that 6 months ago or so, at staff's suggestion, I went out to meet some of the stormwater workers out in the field and thanked them personally, took drinks to them and other things to thank them for their work in the field. And then after that discussion, I suggested that maybe once the summer is done, that we pass a commendation to thank all the stormwater workers who have been out in the field working long hours and hot and sweaty time. Subsequent to that, the mayor sent a defamatory email about me saying that I had somehow criticized the mobility people. If suggesting accommodation is criticizing the stormwater people, I don't understand what is. And so I would just, I'm speaking to my attorneys because I'm frankly tired of the defamation that's coming from the mayor's office. I would just remind the mayor that there were 2 negative campaigns that were run against me, and both of them failed, and the next one's going to fail too. And I would remind her and her colleagues of Florida statutes and laws and ethics rules, including Florida Statute 104.31, which prohibits use of staff time for political purposes. We need to come together and work to help this city. Our constituents want us to help solve the problems in the city. They don't want petty politics. The public is tired of it. I would ask the mayor again to stop. Thank you.
Okay. Councilman Vieira.
Yes, sir. Now, I have one if I may. Did everybody get my memo on Gabe Hassan? Everybody did? Yes. Anybody need it? Okay, just making sure. Yeah, so I motioned consistent with that on September 18th to have a staff report on a plaque to be placed at a park bench on the late Gabe Hassan, who was a 17-year-old teenager in New Tampa who passed on from Schwarzman-Diamond syndrome, which causes a lack of protein, immune system deficiencies, bone marrow challenges. He would have 7 leg surgeries over a 5-year period from the time he was 12 to 17, and in the hospital he would get his diploma from Wharton High School with a 4.7 GPA, as well as his Eagle Scout commendation, and he would pass on a couple of weeks later. His parents are wonderful people, and they always do a blood drive at the mosque on his birthday, and his parents will be coming that day. So that's my motion.
Thank you. We have a motion from Councilman Vieira, a second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Councilwoman Hurtak.
I'm going to wait till the end of
Okay, Councilwoman Hurtak.
Okay. A request by the Planning Commission setting adoption hearings for TACPA 2514, TACPA 2515, TACPA 2516, and TACPA 2417. I think it means 2517.
That's probably just 25.
Yeah, it's probably 2517. On January 29th, 2026 at 5:01 p.m. and direct the legal department to provide the city clerk with a form of notice for advertising the public hearing.
Yes.
Susan Johnson, Velez Legal Department. I'm not sure that I would assume that it's 2515 or
Okay.
just because the other ones were 25, because we have some
Okay.
that have
Okay.
multiple continuances.
Then
so
I will
would-
say 2417, and if we need a Scrivener's error, we can do a Scrivener's error.
We have a motion from Councilwoman Hurtak, a second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Councilman Maniscalco. Councilman Miranda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've had a couple of phone calls with individuals, and a lady came in to see me this week regarding artificial turf, saying that it's getting hotter and hotter, and they're putting more and more turf down and creating a disadvantage to the nature of life. And of all things, I had a conference. We were talking about different things in the water department. I asked them about it, and they told me they're going to do a study of all different types of artificial turf and what the chemicals are made of. They're going to have it with water and drying out. Then they're going to check the water for any type of chemicals that may be leaking into our water system because of artificial turf. So I just want you to know what's coming on.
Councilwoman Hurtak.
That's wonderful, but I believe the state just preempted us from being able to do anything about
Correct.
artificial turf.
Yep.
Well, we're still going to do the study.
Okay, yeah, I'm
Yeah,
just,
I would
saying.
imagine they are.
Yeah, no, they did. They,
And that's the reason why.
Yeah.
They don't wanna know.
Supposedly, they're waiting to do some type of criteria at the state level, and it'll dictate to us what we do, is what I understand. Okay, that is the end of new business. Can I have a motion? Councilman Carlson?
I forgot, Suling asked me to take something off the agenda next week.
Okay,
May I,
go ahead.
I'd just like to make a motion to take file number CM 23-83645 off the agenda next week. This was a report that I had asked USF to do, and I still need to get them to come forward to do it. So
Okay,
we'll
we
just
have a
take it off
motion
for
from
now.
Councilman Carlson, a second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, motion to receive and file.
Second.
We are adjourned.
For real?